Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to iLaserbeam's EX episode, what are we on now? Episode 8. As you can tell already from the music, well, we're not hearing it right now, but you will be hearing it. Tonight is definitely going with a slightly different theme. Tonight is all about our favorite other blue mascot in video games, Sonic the Hedgehog. So we're coming at you with a freestyle and Sonic discussion, and I am one of your hosts, Breakman EXE.
And with Breakman, as always, is myself, Flashman EXE, resident village idiot, Sonic fanboy, and just overall crazy otaku. So yeah, here with Break, we are going to be discussing the other blue meat, and with any luck, you know, maybe we can actually get through this thing with a minimal number of crazy outtakes for our ever-mounting outtake reel, which is on the way soon, and I hope you guys look forward to laughing and pointing and shaking your fists at us.
Yes. Yeah, let's go ahead and take this minute to go ahead and make this announcement official. We haven't been doing outtakes reels, as you've noticed from the last couple of episodes, because we are specifically compiling them for sort of a best of the worst kind of reel to release, because, you know, if we do them on a regular basis, it becomes less and less, you know, like a special occasion, and it's like, you know, we don't want you to expect anything out of us other than for us to be complete dorks, but yeah, so that's what we've got planned for that, so look out for that. It's gonna be ridiculous. Honestly, I'll be really interested to see how many people actually download it, because it's gonna be like about an hour of nothing worthwhile at all.
It could almost just be ELB EX9.
Seriously.
Yep, see, there we go. There's one more for the reel.
Lovely. I'm leaving that one in.
ELB EX9. Yes, the outtakes reel. No, you know what? We're not doing that.
Nope.
Break, you're probably just going to have to cut this part, too.
I'm beginning to wonder if maybe we should start an ELB DS or something to that effect.
ELB EX9, can we please restart this whole thing?
Yeah.
It sucks. Thanks for listening.
Now go sit in the closet with the rest of the EXE3 haters.
Oh wow, that box art is crap too. Even though we've moved on 17 minutes into the column and we're on a completely unrelated note. Man, have you ever noticed how badly the Q*bert box art sucks? Well, now that all of our memes are out of the way, let's go ahead and let's kick this thing off.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move right along.
So anyway, this column is going to be commentary for the entire Sonic metaverse, so to speak. We're going to be covering the games, we're going to be covering the comic books, we're going to be covering the cartoons especially.
Tonight, though, we're just focusing on the games, yes?
Right, yeah. We're just going to basically be hitting on, really, we're just going to be hitting on Sonic in general, and we want to kind of cover the whole universe, so to speak, and the games seemed like the best place to start because, you know, the games are where Sonic got his start.
Yeah,
and
you wouldn't have any of the related TV shows, comic books, and what other have-you, various cameos, Smash Brothers, without the games in the first place.
Yeah, we want to cover Sonic. We're not going to be covering Sonic and Mario. We're not going to be covering, except to talk about, obviously, their rivalry.
Yeah.
But we're not, this isn't going to be basically, Sonic in Smash Brothers. This isn't going to be Sonic in... we are covering Sonic the Hedgehog, and pretty much from start to current, I guess.
Yeah.
I think, then, that having been said, it's a good point to start off with Sonic the Hedgehog 1.
Yeah. Real quick, I'd like to interject is that we don't really have an established format for this episode. We're pretty much going to be completely freestyling it. So, it may be a little disjointed, but really, that's when, it's good to have structure every now and then, but at the same time, we just gotta let loose sometimes.
Right. Sonic is a very important series for both of us. It was my first video game I ever owned. One of the first video games I ever beat. So I have a lot of history with Sonic the Hedgehog, and Sonic is what introduced me to Mega Man, and in turn, pretty much everything else I've played. So, yeah, Sonic is an influential series for us, and...
yeah, like I said, Mario was one of my first, and, I was, for the most part of my childhood, I was blissfully unaware that there was anything outside of the NES until I happened to go over to someone's house, and, oh, there happens to be a TV with this strange black contraption sitting in front of it, and something tearing around at ridiculous speeds that... Is this Mario? No, what? I don't know what this is. I like it. I love it. I want more of it.
I was on the exact opposite end as a child because I grew up with the Sega Genesis, and I was blissfully unaware...
Lucky you.
Oh, yeah, I was blissfully unaware of the Nintendo for the greater part of my childhood.
You got the longer end of the stick, dude.
I basically grew up under the impression that Genesis really did what Nintendo didn't. And so, and for the most part, I still believe that as an adult. Ha-ha! But actually, I do believe that Genesis is the inferior system in the Super Nintendo Genesis war, only because the Super Nintendo has so many awesome games for it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Genesis really is hit or miss. It's either a perfect game or it's a total piece of crap. Whereas the Super NES has a good library of pretty good games, and then some that are like Super Metroid or Chrono Trigger that are just
really the Nintendo
unparalleled
business model, though.
Getting back on track, Sonic
is
what we're here to talk about, and so without further ado, let's get with it. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 for the Sega Mega Drive. Break, why don't you go ahead and kick us off on this one?
Sonic. Wow. I still vaguely remember the rush of emotions and thoughts that bolted through me when I first held that giant black controller in my hand and controlled this breakneck speed moving blue demon with feet made of wheels.
Yes. He had wheels
it's
for
just
feet.
First time just visually, you don't even have to hold the controller at first. You see, back in the day, you saw someone playing Sonic 1 and you were like, whoa, what is that? I don't know if my mind can handle this explosion of color. Because at the time there was really like nothing else on the market that was remotely like it. We were getting to the state where video games were getting more advanced graphically, but Sonic managed to deliver this kaleidoscope of colors and just vibrant worlds, a soundtrack that would get your toe tapping the next time you heard it, and just really... Considering how fast he went, the controls were surprisingly tight.
I vaguely remember hearing a rumor years ago that the original test audience for the original Sonic the Hedgehog game said that the game was actually too fast for them and they had to slow it down because it was making the gamers sick playing it. It was so foreign.
Seriously?
Concept. I seriously remember hearing that in an interview somewhere years ago.
Wow. Then it was originally going to be even faster. And we probably ended up seeing that in Sonic 2 and later on down the line with Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles.
Right. And the original Sonic game is, it's like I said before, it's not my favorite, and I don't even think it's the best that the franchise has to offer, but it's a solid first offering. I have a lot of nostalgia with that game.
I think really the spots in that game that really started to make me hate it were the unintelligible special stages, as well as like
you mean the enter the LSD zone?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I still think that special stage looks like a bad trip.
Ask Naka.
Yeah, it was really kind of crazy. But Sonic the Hedgehog is interesting as a game because it's pretty much as simple as the game can possibly get. It's Sonic and Robotnik no unnecessary characters cluttering it down, no super transformations, just straight start to finish, get to the end of the game goodness. And
granted, you could still pursue those Chaos Emeralds if you wanted to get the quote-unquote good
ending, but the difference is basically whether Robotnik is juggling them or stomping up and down on the end screen.
Yes.
That's pretty much the essential difference between both endings. And, you know, it's funny because I remember spending a long time figuring out how to beat Robotnik, actually, in Green Hill Zone, because, as ashamed as I am to admit it...
You were afraid that the chain was going to kill you, weren't you?
Oh, totally, yeah, I spent a long time... I didn't realize that the chain was actually transparent. You could just jump right through it. And so I was kind of afraid to hit Robotnik because I didn't know what was going to happen if I did.
Yeah.
But
what boss in that game did you think was really the most annoying for no good reason?
You know, I have to say, probably the most difficult boss in that game for me is probably the Springyard boss.
Dude, I'm right with you on that. I hate that boss.
Just because any boss that basically gives you a time limit to beat it is not cool, man.
Yeah, I agree.
All of the bosses in that game really kind of mess with you psychologically, like the Labyrinth boss. There's a notorious one for you. I can't tell you how many times I timed out on that boss fight.
And it's bad enough, you know, it's bad enough to have that, but then to have us revisit something like that later in Tidal Tempest.
Oh yeah, that was really
evil.
Cold. It was basically a reverse direction Labyrinth boss.
Yeah.
The endless waterfalls in Labyrinth 2 that really mess with your head are kind of...
I think I actually, first time getting there, I think I actually sat on those for like a good 5 minutes before jumping off to see what would happen, because I wasn't freaking getting anywhere.
Yeah, I remember I actually, at one point when I got to those, I thought, if I just wait long enough, something will happen, and nothing ever did, of course.
Oh, if you do wait long enough, something will happen.
Yeah, you'll get a timeout. Yeah, that. So anyway, then there's the Starlight boss, which is another psychological mind game.
It's kind of refreshing, though, that this game really was one of the first to have, one of the first platformer games to have bosses that you had to really think outside the box in order to beat them.
Puzzle-like bosses while still maintaining that action gameplay element. Not like, I have to jump over him and touch the hammer to knock him into the bridge below. Not that I'm not throwing stones at anything. And of course, this isn't nearly as bad of a psycho mind game as, I don't know, plug your controller into port 2 to beat boss.
See you like playing Suikoden. It is a fun game. So you've played Symphony of the Night, yes?
But I see the reference was received. But
dude, I'm a Metal Gear enthusiast.
But back in the early 90s, we didn't have that sort of stuff as prevalently as we do today.
Yeah.
So thinking about jumping on seesaws to fling fire landmines, whatever those are, that was an innovative thought for us at the time. And then there's the infamous dreaded Final Zone boss, which
man,
once you figure the pattern out on it, you can beat in like 30 seconds. But seriously, it took us a long time the first time we saw it. That and the cruel, sick joke of not having any rings for it was
seriously
just cold-hearted. I remember when I played that in Sonic Jam, I was like, they put rings here?
Honestly, it took me a... Oh yeah, they did, didn't they?
They did. Not only did they do it for that, they did it for Sonic 2 as well, which we're going to be covering that
Yeah,
in just a
that
few minutes, but
I found that insulting. 'Cause
I did,
back
too,
in
because
my day,
I
we
was
didn't
like-
have any of these newfangled jewelry things flying around in the space stations. We had our shoes and our spikes, and we had a Silver Sonic rocketing around the screen at us, destined to kill us if it so much as grazed our shins, and we liked it.
we loved it, and it was great. We enthusiastically embraced it with all of our might and soul. We loved it that much.
Yes.
And I am sorry, I was insulted at the fact that somebody got to play that boss fight with rings, when I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, this would have been so much easier when I was 6, but getting back on topic, Sonic 1 is a good game. It's not a perfect game,
No.
but Sonic
hell of
1
a
is
start, though.
Sonic 1 is arguably a far better first impression than Mega Man 1 is. I mean,
by far.
yeah, I mean, it basically, Sonic 1 shows you what the series has to offer. Mega Man 1, I think, probably turns more people off that are new to the Mega Man franchise than it turns on.
Agreed.
Hi, it's the Gutsman's platforms. I have never seen anything fall at that rate of speed. I mean, you're
Physics?
standing on the platform.
The hell is that?
You're standing on the platform breaks loose from under you, and you explode instantly. I don't even think Mega Man makes it to the bottom of the screen. I think he just teleports to the bottom of the screen and dies. And like 1/100th of a second, he plummets off. You get no reaction time at all. You can't even steer him. He just plummets right off of that thing, and bam, craters on you.
Blame the bats.
I guess it is those bats. Those stupid bats. I curse you with all of my fist and anger. Urgh.
So then in 1992, yes,
I believe so, yes.
we got Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
No, we didn't. We got a beta version that was released to the public that didn't actually work. No, I'm just kidding. We got Sonic 2. That was those poor guys in Taiwan that got that.
Wow, poor jerks.
Poor Simon Y. You only founded a huge internet legacy based off of that one marketing mistake. Seriously, though, jokes aside, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Wow.
This game was really influential as far as the direction that the rest of the series would take.
Absolutely. For the first time, you can really, really see... there's a lot of Japanese cultural influence in Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Specifically, some
obviously,
anime cultural influence.
Obviously with Sonic himself, Super Sonic. Then,
Super Sonic collecting the 7 Dragon Emeralds.
And Tails is obviously a reference in and of himself.
Yes.
Sonic the Hedgehog 2 had a musical score done for it by Dreams Come True, same as the first game. As I recall, I believe that's also the last game that they did a musical score for, because they
yes, that's true.
Contract negotiations for Sonic 3 didn't go so well.
Oh, there's an interesting story about that, which we'll get to later.
Yeah, absolutely. Involving a certain other infamous performer. Yeah, but Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has... it is epic length. It's longer
I think
than...
that's probably, aside from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the longest game in the series.
It's significantly longer than Sonic 1. Over twice as long. It introduced Tails, who is basically a stripped-down version of Sonic. But
and you can't even fly in Sonic 2.
The fact that you can partner with him makes the game actually more challenging, but initially it makes it actually look like it would be, I don't know, beneficial to you until you get to the special stage and realize that...
Really, all Tails is there for is just Oh, look, that's cute. Sonic has a friend. They're going on an adventure together. This is a buddy show.
Well, that and the fact that Tails is awesome as a character and remains
As a character,
awesome.
yeah, but he's all but useless.
In that game, he is absolutely useless. Tails is there for one reason, and that's to fly the tornado for you in Sky Chase and Wing Fortress. That's it.
Yeah.
And then to pick your butt off when you become a comet falling from the Death Egg. But, and he's still cool. Tails is awesome, but Robotnik really steps up his game in Sonic 2. It's like the kid gloves come off, and whereas the first set of bosses are kind of, tricky but with a little bit of, that good old Yankee ingenuity, you can figure them out real quick.
Yeah, if it takes you longer than a couple of seconds to figure out the Mechno Cart in Emerald Hill, then you're playing the wrong game.
Robotnik throws out basically a joke boss for his first appearance in Sonic 2. It's almost like, what? You guys are back again? Oh crap, all I've got's the go-kart. Well, here, hand me that drill. Okay, let's go! Big vehicle. But I love the Robotnikopter that he flies into the Mechno Cart with. That is awesome.
Yeah.
But, it's actually much more innovative than the original Eggmobile, I think. And it looks more practical too, with the giant spinning blades of death 3 inches
but
from
still,
his head.
that original little flying contraption of his it's just timeless as far as its design goes.
Oh yeah, the Eggomatic is, I think, the coolest fictional vehicle of all time, because it can be anything. I mean, it's basically this all-purpose, snap-in pod that can go in anything you want. He's got, it's a hovercraft, it's a car, it's a submarine, it's a helicopter, it
comes with its own bucket of parts.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's the Mr. Potato vehicle. It's cool. And,
that thing went through so many transformations in Sonic 2.
Oh, yeah, that thing has got, it's got a feature for everything. Robotnik really put a lot of time in, and it's durable as heck. That thing has been through countless explosions, and either Robotnik's got, hundreds of them, but it's always durable enough that he can bail and get away to another vehicle later on. So
seriously, he and Wily must have the same car dealer.
Apparently, yes. He must buy from good old Uncle Al's used cars. A spacecraft that the whole supervillain family can enjoy. Free Battle Vips with every purchase.
Recommend your friends.
But oh yeah, the Eggomatic is so awesome, and in that game, it's really cool in that game because it has like Break says, it's got so many different transformations and innovations and nifty irrigations. It's just this neat little car, and right after the Emerald Hill boss, immediately you jump to Chemical Plant, and it's like that is a slap in the face as far as difficult bosses go.
That boss is so irritating.
That boss is irritating, and because considering how big of a joke the Mechno Cart is, you're immediately slapped in the face with the Kool-Aid machine, and that thing is like, oh, wow.
And it's even more insulting when you turn around and go from that thing to the Aquatic Ruins boss, and it's just laughable.
Yeah, and then there's the infamous Casino Night boss, which that is more that thing is luck more than anything else.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's like, and I love how Knuckles can just spam that boss by gliding into it.
Yeah.
Whereas Sonic actually has to do crap to hit the thing. Oh,
I usually ended up just charging a spin dash to max and jumping off the wall, hoping he was close enough. Because you can't see him from where you're at on the floor.
Exactly, yes. And then there's the Hilltop boss, which is irritating, but it's not horrible. The same for the Mystic Caves boss. It's irritating, but it's not horrible.
I'm trying to think of what the hardest boss in that game was, besides, of course, the final ones.
I would have to say the hardest boss in the game is probably either the Oil Ocean boss, because 95% of it is a leap of faith, or the chemical plant boss because you run the risk of falling through the floor.
Ooh, what about the Metropolis Zone boss?
The Metropolis boss is interesting because, you know, the floating orb Robotnik clones, I still don't really understand what the significance of those are.
Those are just an annoying distraction.
Basically, yeah.
They're basically his health meter.
Pretty much, because Robotnik only can take one hit in that thing. So if you can time it just right, you can hit him without even needing to pop any of those. But, you know, if you don't have any rings, and I think there's actually a way to get to that boss, like, I think the lamppost before it doesn't have any, or it only has, like, a small handful of rings, so you're going to be taking a couple of hits from that sucker.
That thing is just so irritating.
It's irritating without being impossible or difficult. Sky Chase and Wing Fortress, neither one. Well, no, Wing Fortress does have a boss.
Actually, you know,
I'd say the Wing
I
Fortress
may have to
boss
say
is the
that
hardest one, then.
Yeah, because it's like the same thing that you saw later on in Sonic and Knuckles, but just the fact that the platform could hurt you.
Yeah, the platforms are actually doing more to harm you than help.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can, if you keep on the platform for like longer than it takes to jump right back off it, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And you just, yeah, that was a pretty cruel and vindictive. I like how you can snag a free one-up at the helm of the ship, though. That was a neat little touch. Hold on a second, I gotta go pilfer Robotnik's cabin. Rummage. Awesome, he keeps a one-up for me here. I don't know why. Stuff in the backpack, and let's go, guys.
Yeah.
That was a neat.
But I love how like that whole from Sky Chase onward really cemented the fact, like, oh, by the way, there's kind of a story here.
Yeah. I also like how Sonic is apparently Batman and can breathe in space.
The way I figure it is that I don't know. I kind of figure that the Death Egg isn't actually outside of the planet's atmosphere at that point.
No, it's
just like well above and beyond anything, like the reach of anything. I mean, he does have to catch a piggyback ride on his rocket in order to even get there.
Not only that, I think Sonic's Chaos Aura probably just lets him breathe or something because he's like the chosen one. Like
something like that.
I don't think Amy could handle that. But then again, I don't think Amy can handle much of anything.
Or, you know, maybe in the case of like the Death Egg and the and even later on in the series, the what the crap was it called? Remind me. It's been a while since I played SA2.
You mean the
Eclipse
not the Death Egg?
Yeah, the Not Egg.
The Ark.
The Death Knot.
The Space Colony Ark.
Yes, the Space Colony Ark. You know, they could just have their own little, sort of atmospheric fields around them.
But that could make sense. But then
because if you go that far, is to say like Sonic's has like some sort of special ability that lets him breathe in space, then you have to extend that to Shadow, Rouge, and Knuckles.
Well, and if Sonic can breathe in space, why can't he breathe underwater?
Yeah, what a loser. That would be infinitely more, like, useful.
Sonic, can you please take that power-up back? But I like it!
Sonic is trying to learn breathe underwater, but he already knows too many moves. Forget an older move to learn breathe underwater?
Yes, delete breathe. Eat, sleep, poop, and video games.
And breathe underwater.
Yeah.
So then would you be trying to actually find bodies of water to hurl yourself into in order to not die?
I guess so, yeah.
You become a fish.
That would make him Sonic the Hedgehog, and
yes.
Yeah, let's not pursue that train of thought any further.
But anyway, the fact that the games really started introducing a sort of a story mode at that point, that just really, I think the last half of that game is really, really epic. Because, I mean, you board the Death Egg. I mean, Star Wars references aside, that's pretty ominous. Only then to go up against a robotic doppelganger, followed by the biggest and most menacing final boss in a Sonic game yet. That's just seriously,
I know.
Way cool.
It was. You really have to kind of question what they were doing there.
It's almost like the last half of the game was sort of done as an afterthought or something to that effect, you know? I mean, it's almost like you're playing a different game at that point.
And the
it
final
feels
boss,
like the same game, but at the same time, the mood drastically shifts.
I mean, the final boss of Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is so dark and evil. I mean, whoever came up with that torture run of... I still have difficulty with that to this day. I mean, I know I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't, but I do.
It's the fact that you have one slip-up and then you're dead.
You don't even get that one slip-up. If you slip
that
up,
is your
you're dead.
slip-up.
Yeah. There is no slip-up.
Death is your reward for slipping up.
Yeah, exactly. Sonic slipped up. Sonic got dead. Da-dong. But it was... Yeah, I mean, that was so warped. And I know... I mean, because you get to that, and up to that point, you've got rings for every boss. You hit that, you smack that guy, and you're like, oh, wow.
I mean, I got to the end of the game, and I was expecting something more along the lines of Sonic 1, where, like, okay, I'm gonna have my movement drastically, nerfed, and there's gonna be some sort of quirky little trick to hitting the button. No, you're fighting for your life against giant mechanized doppelgangers, and they are relentless.
And they're doppelgangers of both of you, which really sucks.
Yeah.
Because first you have to fight basically you, then you have to fight Robotnik, and oh man, that Robotnik boss is so wicked and evil. And even though it goes down in 8 hits just like the rest of them, I mean, dang, good luck!
No, I think that one takes 10, doesn't it?
It might take... I might be thinking of, like, the Sonic Jam version or something, because I don't play the Sonic 2 cartridge anymore. I play it on compilations, so that it might have gotten nerfed for, like, Sonic Jam or something, but I don't know. Anyway, the point is, you have to... That Robotnik just messes with you overall, because there's no real... It's more figuring out a pattern than finding someplace safe and waiting for an opportunity to attack, like the first boss was.
Then, coming right off of the epic half-story, half-not of Sonic 2, we go straight into Sonic 3. Now, we're going to be talking about both Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles in the same breath, because they are essentially two sides of the same coin. I mean, Sonic 3 is the front half, Sonic & Knuckles is the back half. They are essentially the same game, so we're going to treat it as such, as we mentioned before in ELB EX 7.
The interdependent yin and yang of the Sonic series. You can't have one without the other, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles are essentially part of the larger whole that is Sonic 2, because Sonic 2's story ends and Sonic 3 picks up right where Sonic 2 leaves off.
Correct. The Death Egg goes crashing towards Earth, and it lands on the floating island. Sonic and Tails set off to stop Dr. Robotnik's nefarious schemes because he's up to his old tricks again.
No, you did not say that! That's like one of my all-time least favorite sayings, and you deliberately used it.
It works!
But I hate it!
I know. Seriously, I mean, we saw it a lot in the later days of the Sonic series, but they were even using it, in the instruction manuals for the various Sonic games of the 90s.
It's basically autopilot for plot. Dr. Robotnik is up to his old tricks again. You know what to do. Press A to jump.
Yeah. Press any button to jump.
Press any button to jump. Press any button again to do your lightning shield that doesn't work.
For useless shield.
Yes. That's the broken supersonic feature.
Yeah.
That once you get the emeralds, then that feature actually works.
Yeah.
Oh man. Also,
Okay.
I also love how when you get the Super Emeralds, they nerf Super Sonic temporarily while you're getting them, just so that you can't.
Well, I see that as, you kind of have to leave them behind while you unlock their true forms.
Yeah, basically you're using the Chaos Emeralds to charge up the Super Emeralds, so to speak, because they're all dead and stuff.
Yeah, you have to unlock their true abilities.
All right. But
Sonic 3 and Sonic 3. Let's just Sonic 3 and Knuckles is what we're going to be referring to it as from here on out.
Kind of like how we refer to Dr. Eggman as Dr. Robotnik, because
he hadn't made the name change yet. We wouldn't see that until Sonic Adventure.
Well, not only that, Sonic 1 was released in America 3 days before it was released in Japan, so the character's name was actually internationally established as Robotnik before Eggman even hit the scene.
That's true. That's true.
So technically, that is his original name.
Ooh! Quiz time! Where did the moniker Robotnik originate from? I don't even know if this is a fact, but I have a theory.
Robotnik is a Polish word, and it means worker. As far as the character's origination, obviously it's the reversed version of Kentobor, which is apparently who the character evolved from, so to speak.
You do know that there was a guy who worked at Sega named Mark Subotnik, right?
I did not know that. That is actually news to me.
Yeah, he's actually he's in the credits for many Sonic games. One of which sticks out particularly in my mind because I played that game obsessively was Sonic Spinball for the Game Gear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so there was a guy named Mark Subotnik working for Sega during the Sonic heyday. And my theory is that that's where the name originated from.
Kind of like how
in
Mario
some
got
form or another.
Kind of like how Mario got his name from Nintendo's landlord.
Seriously, yes.
Well, that makes kind of a kind of sixth sense in a way.
But rabbit trailing aside, let's get back to Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Right, but Robotnik is actually a real name, and people do have it. It is Polish, and it is a real name. So Sonic 3 and Knuckles, oh wow, this is the game. It is epic length. It is really, really, really epic length. It is...
And this was the first Sonic game to, outside of probably Sonic CD in a sense...
Which actually, both chronologically and canonically, comes before Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but
yeah.
we're doing this in our own order.
Yeah.
So,
Sonic 3 and Knuckles was probably, really the first Sonic game to feature a true ongoing story throughout the whole game. I mean, even though most of it is just, transitions from zone to zone, but there was definitely an ongoing theme throughout the whole game, and I think that's part of what really made it epic, other than the fact that everything, obviously looks so much more lush and beautiful than it did before.
And the music is so much better, and the features are so much better. I mean, it's just a better game all the way around the board.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then I'll get tunes like Hydro City stuck in my head, that swanky sort of...
Yeah.
The music in that game is just freaking rad.
Oh yeah, it's a great tune.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but each half of the game actually had a different composer, right?
That would be correct. The game actually had different composers for the music, and specifically, though, we really wanted to talk about the person who had been brought on to do the music composition for that game that most people didn't know about.
That actually kind of makes me wonder if the reason the game was split into two was due to, contract negotiations and fallouts.
Right, yeah. And,
I never really thought about that aspect of it before. And
we all know who the supposed composer for Sonic 3 and Knuckles was.
Yeah, I mean, you can search it on YouTube. There are convincing arguments for it. And for all intents and purposes, we may as well come out and say that Michael Jackson supposedly was the original composer for the Sonic 3 soundtrack.
Which is really notable in some of the music. You can really hear it in Launch Bass and in the ending theme in particular. But Sonic...
I think Ice Cap is also a sped-up instrumental version of one of Jacko's songs.
Yes, it is, which is kind of interesting because it's something sort of like... It's something you just didn't see coming, and it just kind of comes completely out of left field, totally. Sonic 3's ending theme is supposed to be "Stranger in Moscow" by Michael Jackson, and you can still hear certain chords and certain
elements of the original.
Yeah, and I think the reason that they said, obviously the reason they said he didn't come out and do it is because of his obviously the allegations of child molestation in the early 90s that caused him to have that fallout. But his band's keyboard player actually remained as the head songwriter for the game.
Oh, really? So that was the story behind that.
That's the story behind it, and there's obviously some question and debate about it, but we do know for a fact, it has been confirmed that Michael Jackson was involved in the music composition for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And that was a big deal at the time because Michael Jackson was a huge star, and that was really going to probably help both sides of the game out, the game and his own career, since both Michael Jackson and Sonic were
quite big at the time.
Yeah. And
but then Howard Drawson came along for the latter half and really showed his stuff. I mean, that soundtrack shines.
Oh, absolutely. Sonic 3 has a few memorable tunes in it, like Flying Battery and... Flying Battery is Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, I was thinking of Hydro City, actually. I don't know why I said Flying Battery.
Well, it's still Zone 2, technically.
There we go, Zone 2. Zone 5, and the ending theme, and also Zone 3. No, but seriously. Marble Garden, Ice Cap, the ending theme. But all of that aside, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, regardless of Michael Jackson's influence or not, although you really can't hear it, have amazing soundtracks. The graphics really look polished. They really have that amazing touch, and it's almost like they really do pop compared to Sonic 2. Sonic 2 has that like crisp and clean and shiny, sharp edges feel.
Yeah, it's like Sonic 1 version 2.0, honestly.
Exactly.
I mean, Sonic got a little bit taller, and he had a lot more frames of animation.
And it's
everything obviously moved faster. It was definitely to be considered a dramatic upgrade.
Yeah, it's basically kind of like how if Sonic 1 is basically sparkling water, then Sonic 2 is 7-Up, crisp, clear, and refreshing. And Sonic 3 and Knuckles
this
is like Dr.
This podcast not sponsored by...
This is not sponsored by soda companies. This is just my own analogy. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, then, is Dr. Pepper. It's got that thick, rich taste that really reaches out and grabs you, whereas Sonic 2 is basically perky and cute and fresh. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is rich and deep and exotic.
It's a man's drink now.
Yeah, it is. It's 99% proof. But anyway,
rocket fuel.
It is. It is. Sonic 3 Knuckles is I think the definitive Sonic game.
Oh, dude, hands down.
The gameplay is enormous. It's big, and while bigger is not always better,
in this case, it certainly is.
Bigger is better in this case. It's big.
I mean,
it's
and
rich.
This game is especially important because it really started to
flesh out the series, really.
The series and even the characters. I mean, there were definitely obvious differences.
Yeah, we forgot to mention this. It introduces Knuckles.
Yes, the introduction of Knuckles, and he was obviously playable in the complete version of the game. But what I think really stands out is the fact that Sonic and Tails specifically are set aside as individual characters with as far as their movesets go, their own individual unique traits, and I can do this better than you can, well, I can make up for it with this. And Knuckles continued that trait. It was like choosing choosing your class that you start out with in like one of the earlier Final Fantasy games. Like, I'd like to be a fighter. Oh, well, this character can be a white mage. And they all definitely have their unique strengths and weaknesses.
Tails also gets really stepped up from Sonic 2 as well, because he actually gets his own moveset now.
Yeah, exactly. Tails can fly and swim.
Yeah, in Sonic 2 he can't even fly.
Yeah.
I mean, he can in cutscenes and that sort of thing, but he can't.
Whenever you're not holding the controller.
Yeah, whenever you're playing as him, he can't fly. And
which I always
that
thought
always
was lame, and it was
really lame to me.
Yeah, and it was really refreshing to be like, oh, I can fly now, and the fact that you can actually have a second player grab another controller and use Tails to
cart your butt around.
Exactly, you can.
That was
a whole new
really
world of possibilities is opened up here.
Yeah, that was really well done. So Tails has his own moveset, Sonic has his own moveset, Knuckles has his own moveset, and they're all great. It's like Sonic gets the elemental shields to help him out.
Yeah.
He gets Super Sonic
He's the only
and
character
Hypersonic.
that gets to actually unleash the hidden abilities of those two.
Yeah, exactly. While Tails and Knuckles can use them for their regular purpose, they can't use their special moves. But they don't really need them because Tails can fly and swim, and Knuckles can climb and glide, so Sonic really needs the shields. Initially, of the starting players, Sonic is at the biggest disadvantage, actually, because he needs the shields to give him that longevity that he can't otherwise attain just through his standard moveset.
Yeah.
And the fact that Sonic is faster than the other two really doesn't make that much of a difference. Because, in fact, it's actually more of a detriment than a
in some cases, it really can be, yeah.
Running into crap. Knuckles' ability to break through barriers that Sonic can't smash through, and Knuckles' ability to climb and glide also, it makes up for his otherwise shorter jump and his slower speed and his lack of ability to use the elemental shields. But once they're all beefed up, actually Tails is the one who takes the spam cake, because
yeah, I mean, he doesn't get a super form once he collects all the emeralds, but his hyper form more than makes it. Or, no, technically that is his super form.
That is
he
his
becomes
super form,
Tails.
But basically it blows the other two out of the water. While Sonic can do the screen flash that can destroy enemies on the screen,
and the speed boost / double jump,
and Knuckles gets the if I glide into a surface, everything dies move, which is really cool. The earthquake glide.
Yeah.
Both of those pale in comparison to the heat-seeking flickies. I mean,
it's autopilot for win.
It is. Basically, Hypersonic and Hyper Knuckles are cruise control for win, and Tails is just autopilot. I mean, slap up the flickies, and he was so broken in that game. I mean, Tails is an Uber in that game, and it's really cool watching it because it more than makes up for his... because I actually think Tails is slower than both Sonic and Knuckles as far as his running speed, if I remember correctly.
I can't recall, honestly.
He's kind of at a sort of disadvantage at first, because and he desperately needs that flying to help him out. Otherwise, Tails would be a completely dead weight until you get the Hyper Emeralds, or the Super Emeralds. I guess either
really
word
great
is technically correct, since they give you your Hyper form, but once you get the Maxi Emeralds, then you can now world is mine. So yeah, the characters are really fun in that game. The innovations are really fun in that game, and it's just the music is great. The graphics are great. Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the Super Metroid of the Sonic series. We've said it before, but heck, we'll say it again. It is honestly the best classic Sonic has to offer.
Yeah. It's got the most epic story. The gameplay is the most solid that it ever has been, and probably ever will be. To sum up my feelings for Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I just really feel like the whole, transitioning from zone to zone and, adding in those cute little sprited cutscenes really did a lot to make it feel like a bigger, grander adventure than Sonic had ever seen before. And the fact that the whole thing culminates with Knuckles realizing that he's had the wool pulled over his eyes the whole time, and then turning around and helping out Sonic and Tails in their quest, going up to the Death Egg, unleashing the true power of the Emeralds to face off against Dr. Robotnik in a asteroid field, epic flying space battles.
We can't say epic enough here. I mean, this game is basically Sonic the Hedgehog the movie.
Essentially,
It is the game that sells the series. It really is.
Yeah, and when all's said and done, you just get like this really good feeling inside, and just.
I also
really
think that the game deserves. I think the PC version of the game deserves a special note.
Oh, you're right.
Because while it is a little bit different, I mean, it's the same game. It runs on the same engine. It's just emulated for the PC. There's no real distinct difference.
Mm-hmm.
The game does have different musics for the PC version because they had to convert all of the music to MIDI form, which means
and I think doesn't Sonic 3 have an entirely different soundtrack though?
Only a few songs of it. Actually, only the songs with vocals in them. There's probably the reason for that is because of Michael Jackson. Since if you notice the vocals in like launch bass music,
the various like goes.
Yeah, they sound very similar to Michael Jackson's style of singing in his music at that time. And so either for copyright reasons or technical reasons, because obviously you can't put vocals in a MIDI, they changed the music completely, and Launch Bass, Ice Cap, Carnival Night have completely different music. And I think they sound pretty good for the PC version, actually. I dare say I actually like the PC version of Launch Bass better than the...
the Genesis version just grinds on you after a while.
Yeah, the Genesis version actually does get pretty grating, but the PC version of Launch Bass almost sounds like this presidential march or something. It's this really cool little theme, and it was a nice touch. If it was for technical reasons or copyright reasons, whatever the case may be.
If you guys want to hear it, I'll go ahead and put it in right here just so you can hear it. Take a listen to this.
But you can see what we're talking about. It was a nice touch that gave you a reason to play the PC version, because the PC version
if not just for the novel purpose of having a crapload of Sonic games at your disposal at your keyboard.
Exactly. Yes, and the most awesome screensaver of all time.
Yeah, that screensaver is way awesome.
I dare say that screensaver is way past cool.
Oh, I concur.
Moving on.
I got a hankering for some chili dogs.
I think I'll join you there. Alright, so anyway. There's only one game, I think, in the entire classic Sonic franchise that can come close to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and in some ways it falls short, and in some ways it surpasses Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So
I think as far as vision goes, it may be... I think the game was really ahead of its time and ahead of the technology that was available. I think if the game had been released around the same time or... slightly before or slightly after, whatever, it would definitely be either on the same level or maybe even higher, on a higher plateau.
Sonic, if it had been if it had been the sequel to the game it was supposed to be, it definitely would be on a higher plateau.
Yeah.
But we are referencing Sonic the Hedgehog CD, which was originally going to be Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yeah.
Sonic 2 was actually a branch development project that split off from Sonic CD, but originally the two were supposed to be one game. Sonic 2 was supposed to feature time-traveling elements, and overall it was just really... Sonic CD does not feature...
You can also really, if you look at it, you can also really see distinct, where stuff was actually... you can see the overlaps between the two. Like, Sonic CD is technically the first game to have a spin dash.
Right. Whereas Sonic...
It's not nearly as functional, but, that's because it was the first incarnation.
Sonic is almost identical to his Sonic 1 sprites in Sonic CD.
There's
Tails,
obvious differences, like the figure 8 super peel out.
Tails is missing from the game.
Yeah.
Tails,
isn't there like a little Easter egg of him in there, though?
There is an Easter egg, yes. There is actually a picture of Tails that was illustrated by Judy Tatoya, and it shows Tails standing next to a green vehicle of some variety with a caption that reads "See you next game."
See you next game, yeah.
Which can be taken as a reference to simply the character illustrator leaving that mark and saying, I'll be with you guys on the next one. Or it was probably more likely her leaving the reference behind saying that Tails would be in the next game, which was Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Yeah.
In the series canon, Sonic CD comes before Sonic 2, but just as far as releasing, it actually got shoved past Sonic 2, but it was supposed to be it was supposed to come first.
Yeah.
Sonic CD is an amazing game because it lacks the feel the other Sonic games have because it runs on basically its own engine, and it has its own unique style and flair to it. But Sonic CD is both extremely polished and extremely unpolished in spots. Like, the gameplay is admittedly pretty clunky as far as the Sonic games go. It's not...
I think it's in some cases it feels even more loose than Sonic 1.
Right. It's not as smooth and fluid as Sonic 3 Knuckles or Sonic 2. It doesn't have that. Sonic is a lot harder to control. He kind of jerks to a stop, jerks to a start. He's kind of all over the place. The level design is really choppy in Sonic CD. Like, they kind of messed with the levels a little bit and sort of put things where they shouldn't be. So with Sonic CD, you're never really building up that good head of speed.
Yeah.
The levels don't have that roller coaster feel and layout that they do in the other games, whereas in Sonic CD it's mostly...
Yeah, honestly, that's probably my biggest problem with the game.
It's less speed running and more platforming for Sonic CD, and I think they did that purposefully because of the time travel element, but basically to bring people who have no clue what the heck we're talking about up to speed. Sonic CD is unique because the game focuses on time travel. There are 7 rounds in Sonic CD, and they're called rounds in this game as opposed to zones. And actually, normally a Sonic stage is called a zone, and it's segmented into acts. And traditionally,
wasn't this one separated into zones? Like
it was separated into zones. The acts were called
Zone
zones.
1.
Yes, exactly. It was called the acts in this game were actually called zones, and the zones were called rounds. So, like Palm Tree Panic Round, Zone 1, 2, and 3 is basically how they presented it. Whereas in the traditional Sonic games, it's Angel Island Zone 1 and 2 or whatever.
Yeah, Act 1, Act 2.
Traditionally, in the Sonic games, there were 3 acts. This shows in Sonic CD. They changed it in Sonic 2 to be 2 acts to a zone, and it's been like that in most of the games that have acts and zones.
Yeah.
But Sonic CD still... So that's where Sonic CD still shows a lot of its roots in Sonic 1. Knuckles isn't present in the game. None of really the other extraneous characters are present in the game. There's it's pretty much Sonic, Amy, and Robotnik.
And Metal Sonic.
And the introduction of the mighty Metal Sonic, who is, as far
he
as I'm
became so legendary from this game, and I still have such a hard time figuring out why. I mean,
it's this version of Metal Sonic, too, that's so important, because Silver Sonic is irrelevant. I mean, you beat Silver Sonic and you never see him again. Oh, sure, he pops up in the Sonic 2 Game Gear version, but that's not really the same robot.
No.
And that's more like clunky Robo Yo-Yo Sonic. That's even less relevant than Silver Sonic is.
Now, this robotic doppelganger, honestly, I think it's because Metal Sonic was supposed to be like the perfect robotic doppelganger. Metal Sonic was the Sonic series version of Shadow before Shadow was even conceived.
Exactly. Metal Sonic is, as far as I'm concerned, the ultimate Sonic villain. While Robotnik is the big boss, obviously, and the puppet master behind everything, Metal Sonic is basically the kind of character that, could turn on Robotnik at a moment's notice and rip him to shreds.
So essentially, if you had to compare it to Mega Man, Metal Sonic would basically be the Sonic equivalent of Forte.
I would even dare say Metal Sonic surpasses Forte, because Forte is largely inept at what he does. And
I completely agree. Yeah. It's just if you had to make that correlation, that's the closest thing you could get.
Like, Forte and Wily are always on really uneven terms.
Yeah.
You see that with Metal Sonic. I mean, Metal Sonic is the big bad, and Robotnik is also the big bad, but he's a different kind. Robotnik is still relatively cowardly and will put self-preservation above anything else. Metal Sonic, on the other hand, will kill himself if it means taking Sonic down with him. He's that kind of... He shows no fear, no emotions. He's the ultimate assassin and killing machine. And this game created him, and Metal Sonic is one of my all-time favorite Sonic characters, so it was really neat seeing him. Mecha Sonic is also in Sonic 3 Knuckles, but it's obviously not the same machine. It's a completely different robot. That version of Metal Sonic, if you want to call him that, is actually probably more powerful than this one, but this one commands more of a psychological fear.
Agreed. I mean, that one is just like, you see it and you're scared because, wow, it's big, it's quick,
and it can hurt.
And it can harness the power of Chaos Emeralds. I think that's really the biggest difference. But you're right, Metal Sonic is really, you look at him, and he just the fact that he's so smoothed down, yet at the same time sharp and angry looking.
Sonic CD Metal Sonic is the kind of creature you check under your bed for at night,
yeah,
and you're never quite convinced that he's not there.
Yeah, he's one of those.
He's easily the kind of character that you could see killing yourself in the middle of the night. I mean, he's just that. He's a very smooth kind of creepy. That Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3 Knuckles is more just basically this big bad fighting robot that's nasty and frightening, but that's really about all he is. Metal Sonic.
Yeah, he doesn't command the same presence as classic Metal Sonic does.
And classic Metal Sonic is also the most enduring version of the character because it's been in so many games.
It even snuck into Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Exactly. I mean, Metal Sonic has been all over the place, and heck, he even appears in Sonic Heroes. So
yeah.
Because actually, after you defeat Emperor Metal Sonic, he morphs back into his original Sonic CD form, which is probably the only cool touch in that entire video game. But we're going to rip on that one pretty soon here. That's a discussion for later, yes. Yeah. Sonic CD commands an interesting kind of attention because while it lacks the gameplay polish that Sonic 3 Knuckles has, it also, you have to keep in mind, it came well before Sonic 3 Knuckles, so they didn't have enough time to refine the formula by then. They were still learning.
Honestly, the reason that we put it sort of near the same area as Sonic 3 Knuckles is just because this is probably the first time where the game really sets itself apart in trying to really establish an atmosphere as far as...
Sonic CD is possibly the most visually impressive Sonic game of all time.
Yeah.
What it lacks in its gameplay polish and controls,
Yes.
it makes up for thousands of times over with its beautiful atmosphere and amazing soundtrack.
Yes, that's exactly it. This was definitely the first Sonic game to really attempt to create a world that you could really believe in. You could really believe that all these different areas exist on the little planet, and that's what it's about.
It's such an innovation in the Sonic series, and I really wish we could have seen more games like it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I would have liked to have seen a Sonic CD too, and there are so many...
the good future, bad future stuff was just so much fun to mess around with.
Oh, it really was. I mean, the game has enormous replay value, and it's the first Sonic game to really establish a story.
Yeah.
And really, really establish, because once again, you have to keep in mind it's coming chronologically before Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Yeah.
Whereas Sonic 1 was basically this, okay, so you gotta stop, Robotnik with your spiky hair and your toad. And that was basically the story.
Travel to exotic locations, meet interesting robots, and destroy them in the name of justice. And chili dogs.
Yes. Whereas with Sonic CD introduces Amy Rose and manages to screw up and call her Princess Sally.
Thank you, America.
We love you, America. You are so win. But yes, it introduced the character known as Amy Rose, introduced Metal Sonic, as we mentioned. It's still pretty stripped down. You don't have 8 million characters running around. That was nice.
Yeah.
I miss those days. Robotnik's bosses are freaking crazy in this game.
Dude, seriously.
I mean, they go back to the head trip psychological stuff from Sonic 1. I'd actually dare say the entire Sonic CD game is pretty much a mind game, really. Because you really do, you have to be thinking in Sonic CD, whereas with the other Sonic games, you can pretty much just run from start to finish and bop whatever gets in your way.
Yeah.
With Sonic CD, one of the gameplay elements is time travel, so you have to, there are these signs that are scattered all the way throughout most of the levels, and the first two the first two zones of each round take place in the present.
You know what? Screw that. I'm calling them acts and zones.
Okay, you can do that. So the first two acts of each zone take place in the present time, and you can go to either the past or the undecided future. And so basically, there's the past, the present, a good future where Robotnik hasn't been allowed to take over, and a bad future where Robotnik is in full swing. And to make a good future, what you have to do is go into the past and destroy a projector that replicates Metal Sonic, although that's actually kind of optional. And it's just for a nice touch that frees up the little stage animals, because unlike the other Sonic games where animals are the pilots inside the robots, Robotnik apparently found a way to make the robots...
Yeah, somehow harness, bioelectrical energies from plants.
They drop flower seeds that immediately sprout when you defeat them, and which is really kind of awesome and also kind of different.
It's weird.
It's weird, but it's cool. Those flowers are creepy as crap, though. They don't look like flowers.
Yeah.
They look like...
And it's really weird to get to the end of, to finish the boss fight and go and, hit the big roboticizer that you would hit, at the end of the boss fight in Sonic 1, and, continue on your merry way only to see
seeds pop out.
A crap load of... Congratulations, garden restored.
Yeah.
Weird.
I always assumed those things just basically were prisons that Robotnik kept the villagers in, but come on, those are non-sentient animals. They are not important at all in the least.
Yeah, that's why I always figured they were big mass robot creating chambers.
Pretty much. Either that or they sucked the animals into it and Robotnik would come by and pick them up later or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Neither here nor there.
Maybe he just uses them as bait to draw Sonic to him, because, whatever the case may be, the robots drop seeds instead of animals in this game, which is kind of an interesting touch. So if you want to free the animals, you have to go back into the past and pop open this little holographic cannon that projects Metal Sonic, and
It's a hologram of him he's actually stepping on an animal, which is probably supposed to be like a psychological fear thing.
But it just looks stupid because he's thrashing his arms around wildly while stepping on it. He looks like he's tripping on an animal, and you almost are putting him out of his misery.
He's playing his balancing animation.
Yeah, exactly.
Tripping over the animal.
I usually just ignore that thing, to be completely honest.
Yeah, because you don't even really have to go after it. The important thing is to take out the UFO.
You just get like a little... Yeah, oh man. This game was crazy about UFOs. UFOs are such an important part of Sonic CD, and I don't for the life of me understand why that is.
The only link I could possibly make is the fact that it takes place on the little planet, which I guess is an alien world technically.
Well, and the surreal time travel aspect, but
yeah.
Sonic CD is the sci-fi Sonic game. It's got everything: shrink rays.
And one of the best special stages ever.
Oh yeah, Sonic CD has, as far as I'm concerned, the second best special stage of all time.
First best being Sonic 2, right?
The first best being Sonic 3D Blast for the Saturn, which is Sonic 2 on crack cocaine and crystal meth.
Granted.
I'm sorry, that is the coolest special stage ever. You're not convincing me otherwise. Good luck, though, on that. Let me know how it works out for you.
Yeah, seriously. I just don't... Just as a quick side note, the controls in that special stage just don't seem very polished at all.
No.
It's just, like, you feel like you're not in control of Sonic a lot in that special stage. Whereas Sonic 2, you have complete control.
Right. But, nevertheless, Sonic CD has one of the coolest special stages of all time.
Oh yeah, it's great. Free roaming, breakneck speeds.
The UFOs are obscene. They're almost impossible to hit the first couple of times you play that special stage. You just kind of give up on it.
Yeah.
But this game does not feature Chaos Emeralds either. Instead, they are called Time Stones.
Collecting the Time Stones.
And if you get all of the Time Stones, apparently you'll get a good future in every stage from then on out, whenever you last collect them.
Yep.
And alternatively, you basically get the good ending one of two ways. And this game also was the first Sonic game to feature cinematics, too.
Oh, yeah, the anime cutscenes of legend.
Oh,
that was the thing that really sold me on the game the first time I played it. Like, I let it go past the title screen, and I was like, there's a cartoon... What? This is so badass!
It's still badass. It's not a was there. It's an is, and it is now. Sonic CD is, like I said, it lacks the gameplay polish, but as far as visuals, makes up for them in spades. The music is also kind of interesting because it's a source of huge debate for the Sonic community.
No one can decide whether they like the English release or the Japanese release's soundtracks better.
Richard Jakes actually commented in an interview last night that they held at the 08 Sage, which is the Sonic Amateur Games Expo. Richard Jakes, the composer behind the great Sonic 3D Blast for the Sega Saturn, Sonic R, a lot of other noteworthy games. A little known game that recently came out here. You guys might have played it. It's called Mass Effect. He did the did the soundtrack for that. Richard Jakes commented that he rather liked the Japanese Sonic CD soundtrack, so I would say he knows what he's talking about. My personal favorite is the American soundtrack, but...
That's the one that I'm the most used to. I mean, I can see the merits of the Japanese soundtrack. It definitely has its own charms. Just some of it, I don't know. Like, I feel that the Japanese soundtrack is probably better put together as far as musical composition goes, but I feel like the overall quality of the American soundtrack as far as sampling rate and just the fact that each musical piece seemed to be specifically scored for the specific zones.
Right.
You know, I think that is really where the American soundtrack stands above and beyond, in my opinion. Because, I mean, I listen to the Japanese soundtrack, and they honestly run together a lot for me. Like, there's nothing really about any specific song that says, this is this level.
The American soundtrack is interesting because it it really fit the audience at the time the game came out. It has that high energy kind of power electronic feel to it. I can't classify Sonic CD's American soundtrack as really any genre of music. It's a
wide
it's almost
mix.
its own style. I mean,
Yeah.
it really is. It's like its own style. Not to mention the game's theme song, Sonic Boom, which I still hold to being one of the most important and relevant Sonic themes.
It's just, I'm sorry, but Toot Toot Sonic Warrior just does not stand up to Sonic Boom.
It's just it was a neat and well played soundtrack for the Japanese version, and like when you play both games, you can kind of see how the Japanese one fits a little more. The Japanese one has some of the most awesome Good Future music. I mean, that's really, I think, where the Japanese version shines, is its Good Future music. It's aesthetically calming and pleasing. You can hear the birds chirping, and the music has really powerful bass lines in the Japanese version, which really give it that calm, peaceable atmosphere. Like, this is the reward for a job well done. You went into the past, and you made the future a good place for all of us. Now come and rest our heroes. Whereas the American version of Sonic CD is basically, you're constantly on your toes, and you're constantly jumping around in this game. And both soundtracks are good. I mean, neither is superior, but they're good for different reasons. The
American version was more of just a remix of the present, with like just everything just kind of airbrushed over and made to sound softer, maybe a little slower.
Or the bad.
And likewise,
future
the bad futures, everything was more harsh and loud, and really had a metallic feel to it.
Yeah, which makes sense. It's almost like the very music was roboticized.
Yeah.
I mean, it just has that feeling of Robotnik is also really menacing for the first time in Sonic CD. Yeah, his crazy laughter for one thing. Robotnik obviously whips out Metal Sonic, who, like as we've mentioned before, is this crazed assassin robot that is like, why so serious? I mean, you can totally see Metal Sonic saying that. And I want to draw lipstick on his face now. But, I mean, Metal Sonic has the pencil trick. You can see him doing it.
Yes.
I think that's honestly why we like that version of him so much, is because he's like that crazy, random, unpredictable sort of feel. Whereas, the other Metal Sonics just don't carry that same appeal. And this game it's fun all the way around the board. I mean, the bosses are really something. Like, the first boss is kind of a joke, because it'll either frustrate you for hours on end, or you'll beat it in 2 seconds. It all depends on where you're standing when it comes down. And then you start, immediately, right after the Palm Tree Panic boss, you're thrust dead smack into the Collision Chaos boss, a.k.a. the boss from hell. There's no reliable way to finish that thing off. It's basically just luck.
Hone up on your Sonic Spinball skills, kids.
Yeah, good luck on those, because I still think that the random number generator that decides which direction you bounce when you hit a bumper is still screwed up in that game.
Yeah.
At
least by the time you get up there, all you have to do is jump 4 times and you win.
Yeah, this is where the gameplay really gets obscene in Sonic CD. And then after that, there's the Tidal Tempest boss, which is basically an amalgamation of the two weirdest Sonic bosses ever. It's an amalgamation of the
Labyrinth and
Metropolis bosses.
Yeah.
It's crazy because the boss is surrounded by air bubbles underwater, which you need to hit to stay alive. It's really wacky all the way around the board. The bosses in Sonic CD are unique because there's the Quartz Quadrant boss, which you literally have to run to death. Robotnik comes down in this little chamber that drags on the conveyor belt. That boss is so weird. There's the Wacky Workbench boss, which is... I don't understand it.
I don't remember that one.
That's the one where he comes down in the giant cone machine and drills down the floor, and the floor bits fall to the ground. And the floor is electrified in Wacky Workbench, so when you jump on the blocks, they hurl you into the air. It's the one where you have to jump like 3 stories up, and then you hit him at the top of the ceiling, and he goes down in one shot. It's a crappy boss that nobody remembers because it's so easy. You just get past it and move directly onto the boss that everybody remembers, and that's the Stardust Speedway boss.
Oh man. You want to talk about epic boss battles in a Sonic game? That's one of them. And it's so early on, too, and it's just so memorable.
Oh yeah, the Stardust Speedway boss is probably one of the greatest Sonic bosses of all time. You don't fight Robotnik.
No. It's a race to the death against Metal Sonic.
And Stardust Speedway, no matter what... Honestly, it is
Stardust Speedway's fault that I am so in love with Sonic's last fight against Shadow in the story mode of Sonic Adventure 2. Because it's so similar.
It's so reminiscent of that. It's a race to the death.
Exactly.
And it's neat because the music of Stardust Speedway is almost kind of sick because it makes you want to save that last time stone for Metallic Madness just so you can hear the awesome Stardust Speedway Bad Future music.
Yeah, that is a cool song.
It is a cool song, and it's just Stardust Speedway is such a cool stage. I mean,
yeah.
Got some of the best music in the series. It's one of the prettiest stages to look at. It's neat. I mean, now it's a pain in the butt to play.
Yeah, that stage is huge.
Playing, and you can get lost off your duff in that
so
game.
Easily.
But I mean, it's still fun.
Yeah,
it's still a lot of fun. Sonic CD has the polish, visually, and it's more of a.
It's still rough around the edges, but honestly, I blame that on the series' infancy.
And not only that, it also has a lot of like I said, it loses the gameplay polish.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of extras, like the DA Garden,
yeah.
The video test. Oh man, that was really cool.
The video test was really cool.
The pencil sketches.
Yeah.
Oh man, all the hidden stuff, the hidden art, the Easter eggs. The game is the first Sonic game to load down with Easter eggs, and you can really, 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 really see them prevalently in Sonic CD. It's a good game overall, and I really wish we had gotten to see more of it, but alas, that's what makes it special. And the Sonic franchise, because it's unique and there's no other Sonic game is even close to being like it.
Yeah.
So you were going to move on to next gen, and I was going to reluctantly shuffle my feet on the ground and change into my fancy new power sneakers with light dashing abilities and a shinier gold buckle. Go ahead, Break.
Would you like a fancy see-through bracelet to go along with that?
Actually, no, but I'll take a feather for my hair and a slightly larger, differently colored mallet if you're okay with that.
Oh, go right ahead, weirdo. Anyway.
Yeah.
I take it Amy was your character of choice in that game?
Are you kidding me? I'd rather play as Big than play as Amy.
Ooh, burn. But yeah, Sonic Adventure, folks. Sonic's drastic re-improvement for the Dreamcast. This,
yes.
I mean, the game is announced alongside the Dreamcast, and you're like, oh wow, finally that big 3D rush we've been wanting for so long. And then, likewise, you're like, wow, what the hell did they do to Sonic's character design? What is this, Jet Set Hedgehog?
Why did he lose like 50 pounds? Did his head increase in size?
Yeah, he's so top-heavy in that, early character art.
His legs are like 9 miles long.
Yeah.
I love how horribly lopsided Sonic and heck just about everybody is in that game. They've all got like these super long wiry arms. I mean, and classic Sonic was no muscle man. He had pipe cleaners with the best of them.
Yeah.
But his newer version is just ridiculous because his hands are gigantic.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got those gigantic hands and gigantic feet, and he looks like he's going through his awkward years in that game, along with really everybody else.
When you think about it, he kind of was, because as the games go on, his design definitely becomes a lot more solid and streamlined. Yeah,
and he's kind of just like big and floppy in that game. Like, it fits that kind of cool making the urban scene with my spray graffiti and my white boy rap. And even though I've got like the Knuckles with me and he's like the man guarding the Master Emerald, and why am I talking like this, and somebody put me out of my misery, dog. So anyway, that game is different in its presentation.
Yeah, it's really a mixed bag as far, like, I can never really decide like whether it's my favorite 3D Sonic game out of the two I actually like, or if it's really not. Just because I think the whole adventure field aspect that they introduced, which is pretty much like a Mario 64 type overworld, I think that really kind of detracted a lot from the feel of a Sonic game. I think, that's what I want to say. I think it's kind of
debatable because it made the game big and open-ended.
That's true. It definitely more established the idea of Sonic levels in a world setting.
It established Sonic in a realistic setting to where you could see what Sonic character... But it basically, when Sonic Adventure came out, it ended the era of classic Sonic. And we haven't seen a return to that since then. Granted, Sonic Advance has tried its heart out, but it just doesn't cut it.
No, it's really basically sort of a reinvention of classic Sonic for people that just don't want to go back and play some of the greatest games in the series.
Sonic Adventure basically began the new part of Sonic, and
which is why we really split the series.
I have to admit, I am one of the people that actually really like the adventure aspect of the game, just because I love Station Square. I think it's a really cool and different kind of appeal to it. It's very easy to get lost and kind of confused as to what's going on.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to explore the city, I'll give you that.
It slows it down, which admittedly I don't really care for. But it's a neat touch. It's not bad, it's just not, it wasn't necessary. But it was a cool touch. And that's actually kind of my complaint with Sonic Adventure 2, because Sonic Adventure 2 does not have any actual adventuring in it. It's just
stages.
It's stages, and I
feel that's more closer to the Sonic as far as the classic games go.
It fits the Sonic formula, but it doesn't fit the Sonic Adventure formula.
Okay, I can see where you're coming with that.
It feels more like classic Sonic than it feels like newer Sonic. That's kind of simultaneously why it's cool and why it's not, because while it appeals to the older gamers a little more, since there's no overworld to get lost in.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it doesn't feel like what the previous game established. It's almost like, oops, we made a mistake, retcon.
Okay.
And so it's kind of tricky. Do you like it or do you not like it? Huh.
And that's just really something you have to decide for yourself.
I'll sacrifice the adventure format. But actually, Sonic Adventure 2 infuriates me on one thing that I simply cannot get past. And that is... actually,
Go ahead.
You know where I'm headed with
I
that,
know exactly where you're headed with
I'll
this.
save
should we tackle it now, or should we...
No, I'll save it for when we actually hit Sonic Adventure 2. Let's start with Sonic Adventure 1. But remember that there's something I don't like about Sonic Adventure 2, listeners. You're going to be hearing about that in a minute.
Yeah, you're probably going to be getting it from both barrels, because I'm sure if we're on the same wavelength, I'm sure we both have the exact same freaking problem with that game.
Right.
But regardless, Sonic Adventure was the series, as we said, first foray into real 3D Sonic gaming. And the really interesting thing about it is that you start out the game as Sonic, and you go through his story, and as you meet other characters like Tails, Knuckles, and even the grand return of Amy Rose, you get to unlock those characters and play through their story modes separately. Which is, it's interesting, Tails and Knuckles are pretty much what you would expect from, as far as abilities and gameplay goes, it's pretty much what you'd expect from them. But Knuckles was really interesting because he was looking for shards of the Shattered Master Emerald, and you kind of had to play sort of a hot-cold game in his stages, which, It was definitely
it's
an
really
interesting
neat for
take
the
on
first
it.
level. It's really neat for the first level, and it gets really grating by the time you're done with him.
Yeah. That said, though, I really love playing as Knuckles because just exploring, because the areas they give you to play as him are so vast and like spread out. I really loved exploring those stages with Knuckles. Let's see how high I can climb. Let's see where I can glide to, and see what's over in this corner.
That might be also why you kind of complained about the open-ended adventure aspect, because it was too similar to Knuckles' gameplay.
Maybe, and I wasn't playing as Knuckles.
Pretty much.
If I want to do this, I should be the red guy. I don't want to have to do this as the blue guy. That's not what the blue guy does. Blue guy goes in the straight line.
The yellow guy goes in a straight but slightly curved and slightly slower line.
And slightly up.
The purple guy goes in no lines at all. He just sits.
The purple guy goes in a period.
The pink guy goes in like this elliptical, psychological, crazy
let's talk about
psychedelic line.
Yeah, let's talk about the two new characters, Big and E102 Gamma.
Mm-hmm. And then we'll pick on the older guys.
Yeah.
Big is
a waste of time.
Big kind of feels like that's sort of a character that they made to appease
some obscure demographic that I don't know even exists.
Yeah, basically, Big definitely feels like a demographic ploy. The Dreamcast did have a couple of fishing games, if I remember correctly, though. And
I hear that you can actually use the Dreamcast
fishing controller for Big. I have heard that, too.
But who cares?
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can or not. I don't even own that thing. I don't even care. But it would be kind of stupid if they put that fishing game in and didn't let you use that controller. That would be kind of largely retarded.
Yeah.
Big's gameplay is basically one interesting thing is all of the Sonic adventure playable character stories intertwine with each other.
That's the coolest thing about the game, in my opinion, because you get to see the story from each character's perspective, and you get to see like what's going on at the same time with these other people, at the same time as like Sonic or Tails.
Right, and you get to see their perspectives from everybody's other perspectives in a weird way.
Yeah, and you get to see like how the story really fleshes out from all these different angles.
Yeah, you get to see the
kind of feel
story
I kind of feel sorry for Eggman in this game though, because like he's so prevalent in so many cutscenes that you feel like he's really just running around like a chicken with his head cut off through the whole game.
He's not Eggman. He's still Robotnik here.
Oh, this is the game where they started calling him Eggman though. And granted, at first it's really just sort of in
as
jest,
an insult.
You're Eggman. Eggman. Don't call me that.
Yeah, exactly. He's still Robotnik in this game. He still introduces himself as that, and he just kind of amalgameshed into Eggman for Sonic Adventure 2, but he was still Robotnik here, and we were still okay with it.
Yeah.
And I want my Robotnik back. I'm willing to pay the necessary price if it means that we never see the Babylonian rogues again. I can make that sacrifice. I can live with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get to see the true story from basically, by seeing the story from everybody else's perspective, you get to basically see the truth, sort of multiple truths. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But Big's storyline is largely irrelevant and pointless because it's a fishing game.
Foggy? I must say Foggy!
Big lost his pet frog, which swallowed a Chaos Emerald, and apparently Robotnik needs that Chaos Emerald.
And it also fused with a portion of the Water Beast Chaos.
Yes. Robotnik, yeah, see, that's where ultimately everything begins with Knuckles in this game.
Yeah.
Knuckles is the guardian of the Master Emerald on, apparently it's Angel Island now.
It's still, will forever be the floating island to me.
Yeah, on the floating angel, Knuckles guards the Master Emerald, which apparently he decided to move out into the middle of the island for no obvious or logical reason.
Well, think about it. In the end of Sonic 3 and Knuckles, it kind of fell in the middle of the Angel Island zone.
sort of. I don't really care. So anyway, it's in the middle. It's in a very obvious weak spot.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
I'll grant you that. I don't see why it's not, in the center of Hidden Palace in the middle of the frickin' island.
Well, where it should be safely,
Exactly.
but no. Maybe Knuckles felt security got compromised there because Robotnik had already desecrated the Hidden Palace or something.
Maybe.
And the
I don't know.
Echidna race said... I mean,
Well,
because
when
they
you
obviously...
think about it, that really is sort of Hidden Palace just outside.
And they did foresee everything because there's a freaking tapestry showing all of that stuff happening. It's probably hundreds, if not thousands of years old.
Yeah.
So it might be because the Hidden Palace was like, the most holy place and it got desecrated. Knuckles feels like he can't put the emerald there. For whatever reason, the emerald is sitting smack on the freaking middle of the island where, out in plain sight for all to see, a plot point that comes up in the sequel, actually.
Yeah.
There's this big fat emerald there. Knuckles is kind of asleep at the base of the altar guarding it. And it shatters open because Destiny said so.
Yeah, and out
you
pops
can't fight
the water beast.
You can't fight Destiny because when Destiny says something, you do it. Because that's how it's done. You can't argue with it. You can't change your destiny. You're forever going to be the dropout, and I'm going to be the elite person with 359-degree vision with only a minor weak spot in the back of my head. Take that, and like it. 7 birds. So anyway, picking on Neji aside, so the Master Emerald shatters, and apparently the pieces
go flying to all corners
ever.
of the earth.
Yeah, I guess they get dispersed, but the Master Emerald shatters. Out pops the water beast Chaos, who looks suspiciously like a water echidna hedgehog amalgamation. But
he's supposed to be some sort of ancient deity from the echidna race, or something to that effect, I guess.
I've heard all kinds of theories about Chaos. My personal theory
original
is that,
guardian of the Master Emerald, supposedly.
Yeah, my theory about Chaos is Chaos was like once an echidna or something and was cursed to turn into a water being. Maybe he was like Tikal's fiancé or something. I don't know. Whatever the point is, Chaos is this basically your standard obligatory series god of destruction, because every series needs one.
Mm-hmm.
And move over Mewtwo, you're not welcome here. But Mewtwo Forte. But Robotnik decides that he wants to wake up Chaos and basically take over the world with it. And so Chaos goes about seeking the Chaos Emerald so that it can become stronger. And Knuckles is basically forced to find all the pieces of the Master Emerald, because without the Master Emerald, the floating island can't stay floating, and it subsequently crashes into the sea. So, that having been said, because Knuckles just decides to park his island, he goes off, hoofing it around looking for this is the second time now the floating island has crashed, mind you. Knuckles goes, and it won't be the last either, Knuckles goes hunting down the pieces of the Master Emerald, and this is really where everybody else's stories start to kind of tie together.
Yeah. Everyone somehow gets caught up in this massive journey.
Big gets caught up in this mess with his pet frog swallowing one of the 7 Chaos Emeralds. Don't ask me how they got scattered again. I guess there's like some kind of magnetic repulsion theory that the Chaos Emeralds can't stay together longer than like a small set period of time before they have to be dispersed to the 7 ends of the Earth. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, the good news is you don't have to collect them in this game. Robotnik does that for you.
Yeah, he gets them all in the right place for you. Of course, the downside is that then you have to fight the giant water snake demon.
Well, yeah, that's true, but hey, at least I don't have to fight giant special stage demon.
Yeah, that's true.
AKA Pop the Balloon, Sonic Hero's wonderful special stage.
God, you know what? I'm not getting into that. Let's keep going.
Let's keep going. Let's keep the good vibes going.
And it'll all be okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Big's pet frog swallows a Chaos Emerald, which Robotnik needs.
And that's where E102 Gamma actually comes into the story, because he's actually, his first job, really, given to him by Dr. Robotnik, is to go down to the surface from aboard the egg carrier and find the frog that has absorbed part of Chaos's tail.
And we totally know that the egg carrier is Wing Fortress and Flying Battery bolted together.
Oh, dude, seriously. It's a really
Yeah.
cool stage, though.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's still totally stolen. But
Yeah.
Robotnik has a big thing for giant battle fortresses, and you know what? That's awesome.
Yeah.
You can have them.
Yeah, I agree. If it
Yeah,
gives
'cause-
me a big, expansive level to kick the crap out of, then by all means, go for it.
Absolutely, yeah. You want to trap yourself in the air with a creature that shuffles at the speed of sound? Go for it. Let me know how that works out for you. But, so Robotnik creates the E-Series to hunt down a frog with a Chaos Emerald-shaped tail. Only Gamma is successful, so the rest of them get banned, and Robotnik either remodeling them or just trashing them altogether. And because that's how Robotnik repays loyalty, with punishment.
Yep.
See, that's just how awesome he is. He knew there was only one frog, but he made, 5 robots for it? And then was
yeah.
basically was like, yeah, well, you know what? Whichever one of you guys fails, you suck, and only the winner gets to join me for, a all-expenses-paid vacation around the world. So, yeah, take that.
Travel to exotic places, meet blue hedgehogs, and try to kill them.
Yes, exactly. So, there's also this absolutely comedic little scene, which is actually one of Gamma's first levels, where you shoot little stuffed versions of the Sonic characters.
Yeah,
that-
the little target gallery thing.
Yeah, which are only slightly more accurate than the Tails doll from Sonic R.
Yeah. I really think as far as, like, Big you can forget about, but I really liked E102 Gamma simply because it brought something new to a Sonic game that we really had never seen anything like it before.
It was very interesting. You got to see the game played from Robotnik's perspective, which was really kind of cool.
That, and I mean, it's a Sonic character with a projectile weapon. I mean, how novel is that?
Exactly, because Egg Robo doesn't count.
No, not at all.
Not at all. And similar concept, but this is better, much better.
Mm-hmm.
And so Gamma was cool, and you get to run around and and shoot up stuff, and it's really neat. But Big's gameplay is largely worthless. It's just fishing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is. You just go to but Big has a whopping 3 or 4 levels if he has that many.
He's got he has the least amount. He has even less levels than Amy Rose.
And Amy got really gypped. Big is so largely irrelevant since basically his entire goal is just to get Froggy back. That's it.
Yeah, and once he does, he basically signs himself out of the plot and doesn't come back except for a thankless cameo at the very end.
Which is fine because nobody cares about Big. So hey, all the more the merrier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel kind of bad for saying that because Big is somebody's favorite character.
I don't
but
know
he's
them.
not mine. Yeah, he's not mine. So I don't feel guilty about saying I don't really care for Big.
Yeah.
I don't hate him. I mean, there are actually Sonic characters I hate. Big is not one of them. Big is just unimportant to me. I can't he's unjustifiable.
Yeah.
But whereas Gamma is awesome.
Yeah.
And so Gamma goes around shooting things, and that's its gameplay. And then you have Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, which those are really the stars of the show.
Yeah.
Sonic's gameplay is pretty much defined by get to the end of the level.
Whereas Tails is similar, except at the same time you're racing against someone or something to get there.
It's either beat Sonic to the end of the level, or beat Robotnik to the end of the level,
Yeah.
or beat the timer, or whatever, but it's basically the same concept.
Yeah.
Get to the end of the level.
And then Knuckles, of course, is the hot and cold game that we described earlier.
Yeah, it's basically... and Knuckles is actually kind of tolerable, because he gets a rap theme in this game, but that's not his entire soundtrack.
Oh,
so...
God.
Oh, yeah, so he gets basically a little rap song that's kind of neat, and we're cool with that, but it fits him more in this game.
The new
since
porcupine
it's kind of
on the block with the buff chest, on the wilderness with the rugged nest, knock knock is Knuckles, the blow thrower, independent flower, magical emeralds holder.
Unlike Sonic, I don't chuckle. I'd rather flex my muscles. Yeah. I'm hard as nails. It ain't hard to tell. I'll break
them
it down, man,
whether
you
they solid or frail.
frail.
Unlike the rest,
Okay.
I'm independence is my first breath, first test, whatever.
Right, and then to the left. Yeah, anyway. Moving on. I'm sorry, we know way too many lyrics of that song. Knuckles is more kind of like urban professional rap in his first appearance, and Sonic Adventure 2 really sleazed him up.
We'll get to that
but
later.
which is kind of a shame because Knuckles is a really cool character.
Yeah, Knuckles
and
is my favorite character in the Sonic series.
This really also really brought Knuckles to fruition because it fleshed him out, gave him a personality.
It definitely fleshed him out further than they had in even Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which did a good job for considering what they had to work with.
Yeah, and this game actually really defines Knuckles as serious, straightforward. Knuckles is the straight man to Sonic's funny man. And, you know, whereas Sonic and Tails are like best friends and sidekicks, Sonic and Knuckles are more like fighting buddies, you know, war hero, comrade kind of characters.
Yeah.
They have it's more of like this brotherly relationship in a different sort of direction.
Yeah.
And, you know, Knuckles' gameplay is basically hot-cold, go around and collect the emeralds, and which leaves you with basically just Amy, who we haven't covered. Amy's gameplay is frustrating, to say it kindly.
Yeah.
I mean, Amy is also kind of like Big. She's basically an irrelevant side character, although obviously largely much more important than Big. She's still irrelevant mostly.
Yeah.
Amy finds a Flicky, which is apparently injured and needs to get back with its family because it's a baby, and it's carrying a Chaos Emerald on it.
Somehow.
I don't really know how they were able to fit that Chaos Emerald inside a locket, but okay. Because Chaos Emeralds are like 6 feet in diameter, and it was crammed into like a half-centimeter locket. But hey, I'm not complaining. It's only physics, right?
Froggy ate one.
Pipe cleaner arms. But, so, yeah, you've got this Flicky.
And then down comes this green E100 series reject to try to reclaim it.
Trash can man. Isn't that thing E100 zero?
No, it's
or
just
something?
zero.
It's just zero. It doesn't even have it's oh man, it doesn't even have a number. It wasn't cool enough for a number.
No, it's that much of a reject. It's just zero.
It's basically like Robotnik found, and ironically enough, it's probably the most durable robot in the whole game.
Seriously, that thing is so bloody annoying.
Actually, what happens to Zero? Does that thing ever
Amy
even
eventually fights it and destroys it.
Okay, who fights it and destroys it?
Amy.
Amy actually kills it?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That's the only time the thing is, like, it shows up briefly in Sonic's story, but really it's part of Amy's storyline.
Yeah. And so you've got this crazy little reject trash can dumpster bot that's chasing Amy around at its pathetically slow rate of speed. And it's kind of crazy because you can't destroy it, obviously, in your gameplay mode. You can't. You get this crap. Amy's method of self-defense is a hammer.
The Pico Pico hammer.
The Pico Pico hammer, which is kind of funny.
Granted, you can upgrade it just like every other character gets upgrades to their abilities, but it's still just bottom of the barrel.
Oh, yeah, because Amy lacks any other kind of offensive anything. She's slow, she can't spin dash, her jump is pathetic, she can't fly, can't glide, can't climb, can't swim, can't run, can't really do anything.
So playing through Amy's story is really just an exercise in futility.
In patience.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really just it's patience, basically. That's what gets you through Amy's story.
But it's all worth it, because once everything comes together in the final 7th unlockable story, I mean, it makes slogging through the fishing missions and running from Trash Can Man, it really brings it all to a head and makes it really worth it.
Amy and Big, I honestly recommend doing as soon as you can.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
Get them out of the way so that you can enjoy the rest of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, the thing that is so frustrating about Amy is you get this weapon and you can't even really do anything with it because, oh yeah, you can clear out, like, stage badniks, but you have to slow down to hit them. And considering the entire point of hers is running from this robot, you can hit it, but if you hit it, you're only going to make it matter. And eventually, you can hit it so many times that it becomes invincible, and then you can't kill it. You can't harm it at all. So you can hit it, and that kind of slows it down, giving you like 4 or 5 seconds to get away. But I really just don't even want to touch it unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you don't want this incensed robot coming after you while you're slowly shuffling away because, Amy doesn't want to get her high tops dirty.
Yeah.
But, I mean, whenever Sonic's in the area, she hauls butt. I've never seen her run that fast in her gameplay. And they nominated her speed member of Team Rose, go figure. It's like, oh, okay, I suddenly feel like being fast now. You hypocrite. So, yeah. Sonic! Did you just Sonic-oo me?
Yes.
Do it again.
Sonic!
Okay, now you're banned. Sonic Adventure, though, is, for all intents and purposes, a fun first try.
Yeah.
I
won't say the game's not fun.
It's got some great music. The instrumentals and the vocals in this game are actually really pretty good.
Yeah.
Sonic has a nice theme. Amy's is kind of grating. Tails' is extremely grating. Biggs is extremely grating. But E102 Gamma has a nice theme, even though it's not actually vocalized.
Yeah.
Knuckles actually isn't that bad in his first attempt.
No.
Because, as I mentioned, it's more of like a professional kind of rap.
But really, I think what takes the cake is really the series' ultimate, true theme song, Open Your Heart.
That is a cool theme song. The game also has some really nice cinematics to it. Tikal is really cool. Tikal is probably as far as the new Sonic characters go, Tikal is probably my favorite character. Mm-hmm. I identify more with sort of the underdog characters like Tails.
Yeah.
But I just like Tikal for all intents and purposes, so I'm like Breakman in that my favorite character is an Echidna.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah,
Wow.
let's tackle this beast.
First off,
It's
right
such a
off the
mixed
bat,
bag.
let's get the thing out of the way. Breakman is psychic. Watch him read my mind. What is the thing I don't like about Sonic Adventure 2?
That it's the only Sonic game where you don't play as Sonic.
There you go. I hate being forced to play as whatever character is in the queue at that moment.
See, I really loved the storytelling aspect of this game, but I did not like that I had to be forced to play through sections of the game with characters that I did not like to play as.
I don't like the fact that Tails' gameplay changed completely.
Yeah, that's
Knuckles'
another problem I
gameplay
have.
became more grating, and the fact that you don't really get any time to get used to the characters, because you're just coming down off of a Sonic high, which is running around at the speed of sound, and then
Got
you turn
places
around.
to go and following those rainbows.
Exactly, and you smack directly into
Let's
Knuckles.
play hot and cold in a level that's bigger than anything you ever had in Sonic Adventure 1.
Oh yeah, and you're sitting there like, oh
And it just
man.
gets worse as the game progresses.
And I'm constantly landing Q rankings. I mean, I'm never getting good ranks.
And and all the time your ears are being assaulted by
crap music.
Yes.
Oh man,
dear
Knuckles
God.
and Rouge have
The worst.
seriously the worst music in that entire soundtrack.
Seriously.
Oh, Knuckles is so random. His rap stuff doesn't even rhyme.
Yo, this is Knuckles. It's been a while, but we're gonna kick some butt in Wild Canyon. I have to find all the lost pieces of my Master Emerald in here. I'm gonna get those fools. They want to take my emerald? They playing with the wrong guy. Echidna. That's what I'm representing. It's like, what happened?
Yeah,
the theme
how did
song
we-
for Sonic Adventure 1 was it wasn't my preferred style of music, but it was good listening. I liked the theme song, and then you go from that to some short bus riding moron that
You
doesn't
basically
even know
go
how to
from-
rap.
You go from professional rap to bow bow chicka wow wow.
Yeah.
And it's basically, oh man. And now, mind you, the dialogue in Sonic Adventure 2 is choice. The script writing and some of the lines are comedy gold.
And the fact that everything is mocapped and And assuming you have the Japanese voice acting on, the mouth movements actually match what they're saying now.
Right, and some of the lines are really priceless, like the entire exchange between Knuckles and Rouge fighting over the Master Emerald.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, that is so funny, that entire bit of dialogue right there. But, you know, I like the fact they dropped most of the characters from the Sonic Adventure lineup. Like, in place of Big Amy and E102 Gamma, you get Robotnik, Shadow, and Rouge.
Yeah.
This game introduces Rouge, who is one of my other all-time favorite Sonic characters. Breakman knows me to be a huge Rouge obsessee.
Yep.
Heck, I've got a freaking mural of her on my wall that I had a custom artist do for me. But, yeah, you know, it introduces cool characters. Rouge's SA2 voice actress is amazing compared to her later voice actresses who do not do justice at all. But overall, I mean, you know, she's a cool character, and this game introduced cool characters. Shadow would have been awesome had they played him successfully. As a result, he kind of comes off cliche and trite, but he wasn't cliche and trite at the time.
No,
he was relatively fresh and original then. He hadn't been overused to that point.
Yeah, no, Shadow was a nice breath of fresh air. I mean, he first comes onto the scene and you're like, whoa, it's an evil Sonic. And then as you really progress into the quote-unquote dark storyline, you really get to learn a lot more about him, and he becomes a character that you can actually get to know and appreciate.
And almost find yourself empathizing with. Because,
yeah, Shadow is a cool character in Sonic Adventure 2.
And unfortunately, that's like the last game that Shadow was in that I actually enjoyed.
Because they brought him back from the dead. That
No.
doesn't happen. That happens with Mega Man with Mega Man EXE because he's freaking Data. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's believable. But for Christ's sakes, I mean, your superpowers run out. No, just spoilers, guys. If you haven't, just whatever.
I think the statute of limitations on that sort of thing is long gone.
Yeah. So I don't even care. But your superpowers run out, and you flame up entering the Earth's atmosphere. You freaking die.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Shadow died in Sonic Adventure 2, and through... Not even Sega could figure out how to bring him back without leaving a path of plot holes behind.
Well, yeah, basically, he was asleep, guys. Oh, okay.
While he tried to repair himself.
Yes, that's why that they couldn't find his signal, because he was hiding.
God.
Yeah,
but anyway...
Anyway, yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, well, whenever you can't figure out a way to successfully bring a character back from the dead, blame it on a loss in the translation. I actually think we have a good excuse now for bringing back characters from the dead if we ever start our own series.
But
Sonic
regardless,
Adventure 2.
yeah.
Let's talk about its gameplay.
Yeah. Which sucks for everyone but Sonic and
Exactly,
Shadow.
yeah, let's do that.
Because, I mean, like we mentioned, you know, Tails gets completely overhauled. I understand what they were trying to do with the whole hero path and the dark path. It's supposed to be like two mirror opposites, you know? It's, you know, one team of heroes and one team of villains. Supposed to be like the doppelgangers of each other. I get that. But... I'm sorry, Tails has never been the type to clunk around inside a freaking robot and have that do his bidding for him. He's always tried to be toe-to-toe with Sonic, and his gameplay in Sonic Adventure 2 is just stupidly retarded. Because,
yeah,
they tried to... Go ahead.
They basically made Tails Eggman.
Yeah, and they even tried to, you know, emulate the E102 controls, which everybody loved in Sonic Adventure 1. That's obviously why they brought it back, but they didn't transfer it. Either they missed something in transferring it to Sonic Adventure 2, or they just tried to do too much with it at any given time.
I don't remember Gamma being that clunky, to be honest with you.
No, you're right. Gamma actually controlled a lot more smoothly.
And then you have Knuckles and Rouge, where it's basically Marco Polo hell.
All over again.
It's worse than Sonic Adventures, though, because at least Sonic Adventures areas were relatively small and confined.
Yeah, oh god, and once you get to, like, Meteor Herd...
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just don't get that whole... That game is just, yeah. It's like they took Knuckles, who was actually semi-fun to play as in Sonic Adventure, and instead of making him more like classic Knuckles, you know, a basically rough and tough run-through and brawl kind of character, they made him almost completely unappealing to play as.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, his soundtrack is a big part of that. I mean, like I said, you're being assaulted through the ears with this offensive music. It's not offensive as far as the content, but the music itself is offensive.
The quality.
Yeah.
The quality is offensive.
I mean,
it's
that
like,
music doesn't even fit him, and it's so annoying, and your tension is already high from having to hunt around these ridiculously huge levels to find the emerald shards. It's just not a good experience playing as Knuckles.
No, it's not. There is virtually no draw to play as Knuckles, and because Rouge is basically just a palette swap of Knuckles. I mean, and while Knuckles and Rouge and Eggman and Tails and Sonic and Shadow each have slightly different quirks that make them, you know, kind of attempt to stand out, they're all basically palette swaps of each other, and I would say the most
fun parts of the games are anytime you're playing as Sonic and Shadow, which is unfortunately very little.
Because the other two are basically dragging you down the entire way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you play as Eggman, and it's mostly slower Tails, and it's mostly slogging through the level, but you can move at your own pace. You don't really get lost because there's nothing to get lost in. The levels are pretty linear. You just go from start to finish and try not to die.
Yeah.
Sonic and Shadow, you're running from start to finish, breakneck speed from, you know, the start of the level to the end, and you're basically racing to get the best time.
Those levels for Sonic and Shadow are so high energy, especially considering the music that they choose for those levels. It's just like
Radical Highway.
Yeah, that gets your pulse pumping.
Yeah, and then you turn around and you're thrust directly into
retarded gangster rap or Vegas
or
lounge music
or Harem of the Damned.
Yeah.
I mean, it's either, you know, you're either in the ghetto or you're either basically in this really goofy gangster rap setting or a cheesy spy flick.
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. And Rouge is entertaining as a character, but gosh, if she didn't get the shirk straw.
I know.
I would have... Yeah, and I guess that makes sense, because she's not as agile as the other Sonic characters in that, you know, I mean, seriously, we really don't need, to be playing as Rouge in a Sonic-like setting.
Yeah.
But there could have been some better compromise. Like, if Rouge had been the treasure hunter, I wouldn't have had a problem with that. But the fact that both Rouge and Knuckles are doing it is kind of like...
That's pretty redundant.
Yeah, and just... no. I don't remember this that much from playing Sonic Adventure 2. Rouge isn't actually looking for the Master Emerald pieces, right? She's looking for the Chaos Emeralds?
She's, no, actually, that's not even her final goal. She takes up that role when she, presents herself as, "Lulz, look, I can help you get emeralds, egg guy."
Uh-huh.
But no, her main goal is to really just find out more about what Eggman is actually plotting in this. Because, he is up to his old tricks again.
Yes, because OMG spoilers, Rouge is actually one of the good guys.
Yes, she is a spy for the president of Station Square.
Although that's slightly debatable as to her status, since I don't think anybody knows what Rouge's true motives are. She is
obviously
she's one of the good guys. She's on our side,
yeah.
At least in And
she is a double agent.
So basically, Rouge is looking for really just about anything: keys, emeralds, whatever is necessary at that point in time.
Well, she does have an eye for sparkles, and I'm sure that she was trying to go after, various gems and stuff to sort of appease her own, whims and fancies.
Right, because, I mean, we all know, just from what we've seen of her in other games and stuff, Rouge obviously has a fixation for precious gems and items of high value. She's almost like an awesome replacement for Knack the Weasel, who is largely dorky.
I like Knack.
No, I love Knack too. I've got a Knack plush. He's awesome, but he's
Yeah.
still dorky.
Yeah, he is.
And-
the giant bucktooth doesn't help.
No, nor does the bent tail that he uses as a pogo stick. When you're bouncing on your own butt, that's kind of saying something there. But at least Rouge, Rouge is like an updated, but basically kind of like an homage to Knack in a way.
I guess,
And
yeah.
so it's a sort of neat twist on the tired old treasure hunter routine.
But
But that's
still.
her as a character. Her as a player, she sucks.
Yeah.
And so does Knuckles.
Yeah.
I don't want to
short
play
and
as either
plain and
one of
simple.
them.
Yeah, dude, me neither. Nobody does.
Oh man,
Universally
I was so happy when I beat that.
despised.
I was so happy when I beat that game because it meant I didn't have to play as them anymore.
I know.
And then I had to play as them and get A ranks on all of their stupid little courses so I could unlock Green Hill Zone.
Oh, I know. That's... I haven't done that. I doubt I ever will. It's just, I don't want to force myself through to get... to just...
I sharked
I
it.
don't want to have to roll the dice, essentially, in
sharked
order
it.
to get... Oh, well, I could do that. But, I don't want to have to roll the dice, in essence, to get the most optimal placement of emerald shards that will require as little footwork as possible, because the levels are so flipping huge that you could just get unlucky and that screws you out of your A ranking.
And the hints are so flipping worthless.
I know.
In a hard-to-reach place. Oh, wow, thanks.
Oh, I'm in Meteor Herd. Thanks a lot. That really tells me.
And I think you even have it taken off of your ranking if you use the hint boxes. So
yeah.
it's like...
No, I think you're allowed one use. And that one use
wow.
is usually in a hard-to-reach place. Oh,
Or-
really? Why didn't I think of that?
Next to the brown thing. Oh.
Over there.
Again, I'm in Meteor Herd. But, yeah. So Knuckles and Rouge got the shirk straw, and Tails and Eggman are alright. They're not that great. They're okay. Sonic and Shadow are really where you're playing that game, and sadly they're not in enough of it. So basically, Sonic Adventure 2 takes the hit on gameplay that Sonic Adventure actually had going for it.
Yeah.
But I would say Sonic Adventure 2 S-ranks Sonic Adventure 1 with its awesome
presentation
story.
overall.
Yeah,
I mean, the graphics are so cleaned up, and just, the cutscenes are so impressive.
It's got a really nice story that's very different and
Yeah.
pretty cool. Sonic Adventure 1 had a good storyline, too. It was a different kind of... Sonic Adventure had a more fantastic kind of charm to it.
Yeah.
Whereas Sonic Adventure 2 is more serious, and it's almost like this is a game for the adult Sonic fans, is what that game feels like.
Yeah, it kind of does.
Whereas Sonic Adventure 1 still is trying to appeal to everybody. Sonic Adventure 2 is specifically targeting and successfully reaching its demographic.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure 1 is offering you fish.
Fish and trash cans.
Yes, fish and trash cans. And sometimes they even go hand in hand. Haha.
Oh.
Because, you actually get to wade through a sewer in Sonic Adventure 1.
Yeah.
That
One
was
thing I
innovative.
did, speaking of big, the one thing that I did find noteworthy about Sonic Adventure 2 is the various big cameos. Those were kind of fun to look for.
Those were fun to look for. It really kind of sucks that I think almost all of them, if not all of them, got taken out for the...
They did. Every single one of them got taken out for the GameCube port. Yeah.
Which sucks because I've never actually played the Dreamcast version. I own it, but I haven't actually gotten around to playing it.
Dude, do yourself a favor and do it. Just because the GameCube ports of both Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, they come with their own glitches that are specific to those ports that weren't existing in the original Dreamcast games.
What, like you mean hauling butt through that one level where you end up smacking right into... I actually think it's the opening level in Sonic Adventure 1 where you smack right into that pit hole right in the middle of the road and immediately die and fall to your death. Yeah, I really didn't care for that. That was really stupid to me. So
there's just it's... I understand them wanting to get the games back out there to make them, relevant again, because the Dreamcast had a really short shelf life, unfortunately. But it's the complete lack of really extensive QA testing was not forgivable. I mean, I bought those ports, I played them and beat them the same way I did with my Dreamcast versions of the games, but I have to say the Dreamcast versions are superior. I mean, I know, granted, they kind of touched up a couple of little things here and there, like the Sonic's opening cinema for Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is a little more touched up.
And the infamous Zelda fingers.
Yeah.
Like, I actually remember somebody saying, oh my god, this is a next-gen Dreamcast game. Why does Sonic have Nintendo 64 hands?
yeah, that was another thing that they fixed in Sonic's cutscenes, is that they actually made his gloves round and more like...
Gave him fingers.
Yeah. And then in Sonic Adventure 1 Director's Cut for the GameCube, they obviously, enhanced the character models and whatnot, but at the same time, there were a lot of little graphical glitches as far as, like, lighting inconsistencies,
right,
textures sort of bleeding into one another. Just if you want the best available experience in those games, you got to play it on the Dreamcast.
And there are neat little things in Sonic Adventure DX, like the Cream cameo.
That was so random.
Which I actually think I want to say that's significant because that's actually Cream's first appearance in a video game, since I don't think Sonic Advance 2 had come out yet, but she had already been established as a character.
You might be right about that.
That was actually Cream's, if I understand that correctly, that was her first appearance in any Sonic
It was definitely game. Around the same amount of time, though, because I remember picking up Sonic Advance 2 close to the same time that
Sonic Adventure DX
exactly,
came out.
Yeah.
That was actually my grand reintroduction into Sonic, because I took like a hiatus for a few years on Sonic to kind of focus my interests on finishing my studies, and I actually stopped gaming for a couple of years, and when I got back into it, Sonic Adventure DX was what really picked me back up onto the series. So, yeah, I definitely do indeed recall that, and they all came out kind of about the same time. So, regardless of whether or not that is her first actual appearance, I do remember it was relevant and significant at that point in time when it did happen, because Cream was still a new and fresh character.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that having been said, Sonic Adventure 2 and Sonic Adventure are pretty much almost impossible, really, to compare to each other, because they're such different games.
Yes, they're very different experiences. Each has its own merits.
And Sonic Adventure 2 really isn't an adventure game, which is kind of deceiving.
Yeah. It's more of like a classic Sonic game with a lot more story elements. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that it's basically a 3D equivalent to a side-scrolling Sonic game with cutscenes.
Pretty much. Whereas Sonic Adventure actually is adventurous and open-ended. It's got a lot of mini-games in it, a lot of little fun things you can do, like going to the casino, going to the hotel, going to... do all of these fun the kart racing. I mean, it's got all of these nice, fun, cute, innovative little touches that Sonic Adventure 2 basically completely eschews in favor of basically more raw gameplay and power. And unfortunately, Sonic Adventure 2 kind of drops the ball because it fails to realize that
people want to play a Sonic game as Sonic.
Well, I wouldn't even have a problem with playing as Knuckles and Rouge if I could just get all of their levels out of the way and then focus on the fun characters to play as. Or if I could hold off on them until I've played the rest of the game and then focus on them so that I can put my full... Because once you get really good at something, then you're like, okay, I'm in the groove. I'm in the zone. All right, I can do this.
But no, they jump you around between characters.
Yeah, and you really don't need that messing with you. You don't need that. It kind of just screws you up. And...
I think in the end, it's all worth it to get to the final boss, though.
Oh, it totally is.
So that and Doomsday are really, I think, the two most epic final boss battles in the entire Sonic series.
Right. Well, I think we have time to probably cover a couple more. Really, what else is there to hit now that we've done the important parts of next gen? I mean,
honestly, I really don't care enough about the rest of it that's come out over the last couple of years.
Can we at least throw a brick in the direction of that one game?
Already the launcher.
Well, okay, but make sure it's wrapped in spikes.
Oh, you got it.
There's nothing quite like a brick hand-delivered, but if it's a brick that's launched, it has to have spikes.
You got it.
Alright, you load up that
Already
launcher.
the blue shell.
Sonic Heroes.
Just make it quick, huh?
Sonic... It was kind of a mental coin toss between Sonic Heroes and Sonic Next. Sonic Next, or 06, it's called Sonic the Hedgehog, was basically supposed to be Sonic Adventure 3, and it was a largely guffed-up attempt at that. It has, like, the adventure gameplay elements of the first Sonic game.
That was kind of cute, but I'm sorry, the fact that the game engine as a whole does not work makes the game unplayable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if it has the best story of any Sonic game ever. I'm not playing that game.
No, it's not. There's virtually no appeal to Sonic Next. And so, to throw bricks in the direction of the one I really want to talk about, Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes came out, actually, I believe it was the next 3D Sonic game after Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, and you come off your Sonic Adventure 2 high, you're like, oh crap, yeah. What? Team-based gameplay? This could be really cool.
Shadow's back.
What?
Why is Shadow back? I thought he died. I saw him die.
Well, hey, that's cool. He was a great character. And then you get into the story and you're like,
how was Shadow revived? Oh man, there's all these Shadow clones. Could Shadow be a robot? Oh man, interesting plot exposition here. How did Shadow die? Okay, now I got to figure this out. Oh man, maybe he was like one of a billion Shadows. Foreshadowing, hee pun. Then you throw open the instruction manual and it explains he was unconscious. What? That's it? That's your big explanation?
You know, that's the route that the fanfiction writers take as well, and I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. Because the ending of Sonic Adventure 2 was so powerful because Shadow sacrificed himself to save the world.
I've read good fanfiction. I have read good fanfiction explaining Shadow's death and plausible concepts that they could have used. Everything from, he teleported at the last minute to, all kinds of, at least legible stuff. Oh, no. No, my friend. My good friend. No, you know what they did? They give a Shadow, and he was merely unconscious. You know what? I'd like to knock him unconscious in the face with my fist.
Especially with the next 3D Sonic game that comes out, which isn't even a Sonic game.
Oh, dear goodness, no. Don't bring that up ever again.
One of the worst running gunners ever.
I'm sorry. That was one of Sega's, I would say Shadow the Hedgehog is Sega's worst screw-up since,
have you really gotten that out of touch with your original demographic? We liked Shadow, but I'm sorry, if any supporting Sonic character should have gotten their own game, then it should have been Knuckles with another one. Knuckles should have gotten another game before Shadow got his own game.
Well,
because honestly, not enough people played Chaotix for it to be really memorable.
Shadow almost needed something a little...
Okay, you know what Shadow did not need? Shadow did not need frickin' guns and jeeps and motorcycles. I'm sorry, when did this stop being a Sonic game?
I want to touch on that in a minute, but first let's throw some bricks at Sonic Heroes.
You got it. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little tired.
Yeah, me too. I understand. We'll make both of these brief for that express purpose. Sonic Heroes sucked. It was supposed to be so good, and it was so bad. And Sonic Heroes, I mark Sonic Heroes as the decline of Sonic's recent adventures.
The beginning of the decline.
Sonic Heroes is... it was the first game to spam a ton of unnecessary Sonic characters.
Ugh.
Something we saw hints of in Sonic Adventure 2, but it really came to pass in Sonic Heroes. They brought back the Chaotix, which was kind of cool. Where did Mighty go?
But again, who remembers them?
Yeah, well, I remember them because I think Knuckles Chaotix is a great game.
It is a great game, but most people didn't touch a 32X.
Yeah, basically the only people that remember the Chaotix are the people that read the Archie comics.
Yeah.
And that was it, really. And, you know, even then, they're not really that important in that. They were in Knuckles' side story, but hey, guess what? That got canned. Why? Because it was getting good. There's too much of a good thing, apparently.
We have a hell of a rant coming for that.
Oh, yeah, wait until you hear part 2. But, oh man, I'm sorry, I'm just so frustrated with the fact that they decide, okay, here comes Sonic Heroes, we're going to put team-based gameplay in it, and boy, that sounds like a real stinker of an innovation. And did it stink? Oh, it stank.
It
stank so bad.
So bad.
I'm sorry, but having to constantly switch characters in and out really makes for a clunky game. Because you can't really get used to anybody. Having I'm sorry, I don't even remember what it's called, the action trigger thing. The Team Blast or something?
Something like that. They may very well have been the Team Blast, I don't remember.
Basically, the charge up your meter and unleash explosion.
The Sonic Man X8 Matrix attack.
Basically, yes. Only they brought that back for Shadow the Hedgehog, if you noticed. Remember the evil blast and good blast, depending on how much damage you dealt and took?
I don't care.
Anyway, so moving on. Sonic Heroes just has clunky gameplay, has a nice kind of cheerful soundtrack.
That is the first Sonic game chronologically that I stopped playing and never picked up again.
Yeah, Sonic Heroes does not give you much incentive to beat it.
I haven't beaten that game and I never will. Want to know why? Because while we have special stages back again, and wow, that's cool, special stages were fun, they're as unplayable as the rest of the game. I'm sorry, but any special stage when your automatic forward movement is impeded by an oversight in the special stage's design where if you're on a specific minuscule portion of the track, it will actually slow you down.
Yeah,
that doesn't work, and that is a complete oversight, and it's... I'm going to censor this with a beep or something, but that's bullshit.
I don't believe it. He burned his hands?
Seriously. I burned my game.
Yeah. Oh, it was not well played. I'm sorry. Sonic Heroes just lacks on everything.
Not even the triumphant return of Metal Sonic could save that game.
Sonic Heroes was also kind of a sad day in Paradise because, as I do recall, Sonic Heroes is the last game with the original series voice actors before they started bringing in the Sonic X ones.
Yeah.
I believe it was the last game Dean Bristow got to work on, the voice of Dr. Robotnik.
Rest in peace, bro.
He was a really great voice actor, and I miss him. And even though Mike Pollock has done a phenomenal job replacing him, the same can't be said for the other characters. I'm sorry, but I miss Ryan Drummond's Sonic.
Yeah, this new guy the new guy's just so grating to my ears. He doesn't have the same sort of silent cockiness that Ryan Drummond's Sonic had. He has an annoying in-your-face kid cockiness.
They were voices we got used to. Original Rouge had a lot more character in her voice. Newer Rouge is kind of like generic femme fatale kind of.
It's like,
blah.
How deep and sultry can I get my voice? Let's find out.
Yeah, basically, she doesn't fit Rouge, and that's just. And we speak as fans. I mean, we speak as the.
Even though the games have been steadily declining in quality, I still consider myself a Sonic fan. And I look forward to the next game that completely wows my pants off and makes me proud to be a Sonic fan again. Like, I don't know, Tales of the Dark Brotherhood. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I hope that game's good.
Yeah.
I hope Sonic Unleashed ends up really good.
I'm not crazy about Sonic and the Giant Swinging Sword of obviously referencing the previous Wii Sonic game that may or may not contain rings in the title. But hey, 2 out of 3 isn't bad. I mean, that's a better track record than we have been getting lately.
Yeah. I mean, even I'd have to say even Super Smash Bros. Brawl is a better Sonic game than what we've been getting lately, and that's not even a Sonic game.
Right. And I'm just saying, yeah, Sonic Heroes it failed on almost all aspects. The game is largely grating. The special stages are grating. It's just it's a gimmick game that was a really cool presentation that ended up really failing in the long run.
Yeah.
And it just it didn't really perform that well. And while we're at it, we'll throw a brick in the direction of Shadow the Hedgehog, which is not actually a Sonic game. It still failed. It failed because Shadow had all the potential for having an awesome game. He's probably arguably the second most popular Sonic character.
Yeah.
He's one of those characters. He's a huge fan favorite. He pretty much was from day one. He really had his own. He had his own style, and he really had a shot at having a good game. And had it been played right, it would have been amazing. Shadow would have functioned really well in almost like an RPG style setting. But Shadow almost needed a hybrid game, really truthfully. Either that or
the only problem is that he got it, and it's the wrong type of hybrid.
Yeah, basically running down the street, shooting at aliens with an Uzi. It just doesn't.
What happened?
I don't like the branched gameplay. I don't like the fact I have to play the game so many times to get the good end or the true ending.
Yeah.
I really just don't like the flawed controls. I don't like the grating music. I don't like the character design. I don't like the fact that Sonic is basically relegated to unimportant status.
Shadow, what are you doing? You should be killing more small children.
I don't like Darth Starfish. I'm sorry. It's just the entire game fails on probably every possible level of presentation, and there is absolutely no reason why Shadow the Hedgehog is probably Sega's worst marketing mistake since the 32X.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't wrap my mind around that game. I mean, Break, you played it.
Yeah.
I played it.
You know what? I played it, and I went out of my way. I sat down and I was like, I want to go through this for the story. I don't like playing this game, but I'm going to try to finish it with the story. And I went out of my way to get basically the good ending. Because I really only wanted to play through it once, and then, check out GameFAQs or YouTube or something to get the rest of the endings. I didn't even finish that game, because I got all the way to the last level right before your final fight with whoever it is that you fight, and because the goal of that level is so vague, I accidentally got a dark ending, and it veered me off in a different story path, and I didn't get to face the boss and get the ending that I wanted, so I threw the controller down.
And it auto-saved for you, so you couldn't even go back and undo what you did.
Exactly. So I threw the controller down in disgust, took the game out of the GameCube, and haven't played it since.
It's sitting in my discard pile right now with all the rest of my GameCube games.
Yeah, and
in fact, I can see it smugly sitting over there on my shelf right now, and I'm just ignoring it because I don't really want to play that game ever again, truthfully. And the true ending is such a cool ending. I mean, it's such a great and phenomenal incentive for beating that game. But dang, if you don't want to get to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's basically that game could have come bundled with gold bars and chocolate, and I really don't think it would have made it any better.
Nope.
It just Shadow the Hedgehog was a colossal failure on all aspects, and very sad. It was a sad day for all of us because it was another sharp drop towards.
It was another broken promise and a shattered dream.
Exactly.
And do we even need to touch on Sonic Next?
I don't think we do. I think we've already expressed our opinion about it.
Yeah.
It's unplayable, and we don't like it.
It's unplayable, and furry and human relationships creep me out, and they can stay on fanfiction.org for all I care.
Well, I think Breakman has pretty much successfully covered. I mean, I don't really mind furry, and because I don't consider the Sonic characters furries. I consider them Sonic characters.
You're saying that the relationship between Sonic and Princess Generic doesn't creep you out?
Oh no, it creeps me the heck out.
Okay, thank you.
No, what I'm saying is I don't mind. If you want to call them furries, I don't mind interaction with them and humans. I don't have a problem with that.
No, interaction, no, but a romantic relationship is just downright creepy.
Well, I'm sorry. I don't like the. How do I put this? I don't like how badly proportioned Sonic looks next to Elise.
Yeah.
I mean, Sonic has this gigantic head and gigantic hands and gigantic feet and these ridiculously long and malproportionate limbs on a tiny frame.
And then you put that next to basically a Final Fantasy quality human 3D model, and it's two completely different. It's like, what is this doing? I mean, what buttons on the random game generator O-Matic did someone have to press to get this thing?
Sonic looks great in his own environment, but when you see him next to, like you said, a Final Fantasy style human, you're almost like, oh wow, this is a really
I think that's
crazy.
Yeah, that's a big problem that I had with the game when I think about it, is that
it doesn't look right.
Yeah, the photorealism of exactly the photorealism of everything draws me out of playing a Sonic game. Oh God, yes, exactly like Final Egg Fantasy Man E.
Egg Fantasy Man.
God.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Egg Fantasy. He doesn't look right. I mean, obviously we know why, but gosh dang, does he look like butt.
Yeah.
He just doesn't look good in that game. And and Eggman's robots are so horribly stock and generic. They just look like they could be stock robot extras in any random sci-fi movie.
Honestly, that's the story of the entire game, though. There's nothing really. From what I've played of the game, and I played a decent amount of the game, I played Sonic's story up until, I think it was the first battle with Iblis. Yes? That's about where I fell off the boat?
I think that's actually where I fell off the boat. I fell off the boat and...
No, I fell off the... Go ahead.
The level right after that, where it's basically another one of those... you're constantly running and you have to jump at just the right time, quick time event style levels.
Oh, I hate... I'm not getting into those because those fill me with so much rage.
You know what I think we can ultimately boil our problem with this game down to?
Let's hear it.
Sonic 06 is a reverse Mega Man 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how looking at the Mega Man 1 box art, it's so horribly photorealistic and it doesn't match the bright cartoon cheer of Mega Man?
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with Sonic 06. It basically has that same, everything is so over-realistic, and then you just basically slap the three chipmunks down into this world. Sonic, Shadow, and Silver are so out of place that, next to, real human... It's like, in Sonic Adventure, it wasn't as noticeable because the humans looked like Sonic humans. They were kind of cartoony looking.
Yeah,
so
it was all a very established art style.
Yeah, and none of it was super realistic. I mean, everybody fit. Everybody looked fine. Eggman was still large and comical, and we didn't have a problem with it. The humans were kind of short and stocky, so they looked like they were in scale with the Sonic characters. Fast forward to Sonic 06, and all of a sudden we're kind of left grasping for straws. And it unfortunately happens that all of those straws are the ones breaking our camel's back.
Yeah. That's why, honestly, that game is why I've become just very jaded on any future Sonic games, except for the ones that I've specifically mentioned that I have hope for.
Dark Brotherhood and Sonic Unleashed. Both look very promising.
Yes, I'm, like has been said before, I'm still a little wary on the idea of feral hero of time Sonic. But, I really, really want that game to prove me wrong, and prove to me that Sonic can be relevant in today's gaming world again.
He needs to be relevant in today's gaming world again. Otherwise, I fear that, because I'm sorry, but Sega cannot stay around without Sonic. He is the lifeblood that keeps them alive, just like Mega Man is Capcom's lifeblood. I mean, if you removed Mega Man from Capcom's lineup, that would be a very, very large cash cow jerked out from underneath them that they need to keep financing the rest of their projects, truthfully. And it's kind of like Nintendo. Nintendo could make it without Mario. It would hurt. It would hurt a lot. But just Pokemon is enough to keep Nintendo going.
Yeah.
Let alone all of their other franchises.
And Pokemon is really like a steady stream of money coming in, and when they want like a big chunk at any given time, drop out a Zelda game.
Exactly. Or
a Metroid game.
Or pull out a Kirby game. I mean,
yeah, there's enough fans to do that.
Possibilities are endless. Whatever you need, even if you want to appeal to the niche, throw out a Star Fox game, a Star Fox game.
But you're right. I mean, Sega really doesn't have that much these days. I mean, sure they get like licenses from various companies to do like games based on movies. Like I think Sega was in charge of both the Incredible Hulk and Iron Man video game adaptations.
And Sega has the arcade business, which also kind of helps them out. But really, truthfully, Sega needs Sonic, because without Sonic, Sega would simply not be a competitive...
And granted, they're really not that competitive anymore in the first place, ever since they dropped out of the console wars.
Well, Sonic will come out of his slump. I really think he will. He's been in kind of a slump, but I think he'll come out of it.
I certainly hope he does.
I have hope for Sonic because Mario admittedly came out of a slump. When Super Mario Sunshine came out, there was kind of a rash of bad Mario games for a couple of years.
There still are bad Mario games. I mean, I
was not impressed with Super Mario Galaxy, although apparently everybody else and their dog was. I really didn't care for it as a game.
I think the game is severely overhyped, but as far as being I think it does its job in being a successor to the 3D, like Mario 64 style games. I thought Mario Sunshine was a piece of garbage, and while I don't
Mario
really
Sunshine
like being
largely unplayable.
Yeah. And while I really don't like being confined to basically paths that I have to travel along in Mario Galaxy, it's still fun for what it is. It's not nearly as fun as Mario 64 was, but as we've said before, that wasn't the best of the best either.
Well, let's admit it, what we all really want from Sonic is a Sonic Adventure 3.
Yeah, done right.
And I think that's basically where we're coming from.
We're old school gamers in a new school world, and... honestly, just things need to pick up. I mean, there needs to be a serious evolution for Sonic to continue.
And we don't want to go back to our roots either. I mean,
Mega
Man 9 was great and all as a concept, but we've already voiced our complaints about that. Mega Man 9 is almost an exact opposite of what we want. It's regression.
Yeah.
And we don't need another 8-bit game. We want a 3D game that plays like the old games, but with new good graphics, and that's why I'm hopeful. With
new good graphics, and if you want to mix it up a little and put 3D elements in there, just don't give us another X7.
Don't spam them. We don't want 2.5D. Pick one and stick with it.
Yeah. And it's
that's
similar
what we hated about X7. That's what we loved about X8.
Yeah.
X8 succeeded where X7 failed.
And it's similar with Sonic too. I mean, we're not saying go back to side scrolling and stay with that, because honestly, I played Sonic Advance 1 all the way through and played Sonic Advance 2 part of the way through, dropped it, never picked up Sonic Advance 3. I kind of tooled around with Sonic Rush a while and haven't even picked up Sonic Rush Adventures. I think I'm more or less done with any side-scrolling Sonic game that wasn't made in the 90s. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because we're technologically past that.
Yeah.
That's almost why I'm hopeful for the Sonic RPG, because he hasn't been there yet.
Yeah.
He hasn't done that yet. Let's see him do it right. And the very fact that Sega's trusting BioWare with their baby...
Exactly. That gives me a ton of hope.
Because BioWare is almost to the point where they can't make a bad game.
Yeah.
I mean... everything BioWare touches turns to gold. I really want to see them bring Sonic back, and I have high hopes for this project.
Okay, one more time.
Dr. Eggman, you're in the hideout.
Hello. I would just like to ask you guys a question about that hedgehog.
All right.
He had a question for us. Why would you cut him off?
The point of the hideout is that you can use fake names. I don't mind that. Don't use stupid voices. And if you're going to, make sure they're funny.
So that having been said, I think we successfully covered the Sonic games tonight.
I'd say so, yeah.
A sort of kind of retrospective glance. This is this is Act 1.
There we go.
Of ELB EX8. And please tune in for Act 2, coming soon to a iLaserBeams approved distributorship near you. Break, what do you want to tackle next, the cartoons or the comics?
I'd say next time around we should probably tackle the comics and get those out of the way.
Right. And end on a throwing stones at Sonic X note.
Throwing stones at the latter half of Sonic X note.
That'll also buy me some time to watch some more of Sad-Am, too, because believe it or not, I haven't seen all of it.
Oh, you poor fool.
I know,
You're missing
I know,
out.
I'm so hideous.
Everything aside, though, thanks very much for, wow, we have been recording for close to 3 hours now. I wonder how much this will get cut down in editing.
We may end up having like a 6-act zone.
I hope not. People are going to already be complaining that, you know, it's already a 3-parter. I mean, it's an ELB
Sonic
EX first.
With Sonic 06 style load time.
Seriously. Find the captain.
Are you the captain? Maybe. No, turns out I'm not the captain.
What? But hold on. Crap.
Yes, exactly. That's what we hated. That's one of the things we really hated about that game. Oh man. Oh, I forgot to mention. Somebody asked the other night on Sage in the Lee Brotherton interview. Somebody actually posted a question, and they said to him, "We have a question for you. Did it take you as long to compose Dreams of an Absolution as it took to load the levels in Sonic Next?" He busted out laughing and said no comment.
Oh, that's
But
great.
anyway, thank you guys for coming to listen to us tonight, and we hope to see you again for Act 2.
Seriously. And I know it's a sort of a diversion from our standard ELB fare, but you know, we did anime, we did favorite video games, and this series is really important to us, so we're glad that you're sticking with us on this.
Sonic is our other Mega Man.
Basically,
I mean,
yeah.
I think I speak for Break when all of the other awesome series, Final Fantasy, Pokemon, Metabots, all of the things we really like, Guitar Hero, Sonic is
Rock
kind of
Band,
our
get it right.
Sonic is our historical aspect of gaming, and it's a very important part of who we are.
Yeah.
So there we are. There you have it. We hope you enjoyed, and we hope to see you for the next act.
Exactly. We'll see you guys in Act 2 of iLaserBeams EX Episode 8. And for the meantime, this is Breakman EXE signing out for the night.
This is Flashman EXE signing out.